Ooh. 8 minutes. Jesus. Hold on. Jew, by the way. Oh. LSF has been compromised. Holy shit. By the way, I don't know if the strongest commie crazy people in the United States, by the way, are the are Jews that are communists or whatever. Those are always your because these are the people that are trying to signal like harder than anyone else on the planet that they're like these are going to be the most Jew hating, the most Israel hating, the most like it's a genocide. Blah, blah. Somebody said that they got this message on LSF. I don't know what they got banned for. Maybe they got banned for a good reason. I'm not sure. But this LSF mod's response: as a Jewish American myself, who is a member of the DSA, you are just flat out wrong. Your claims are disgusting and frankly make me feel sick. You're projecting while you claim others hate you for who you are. Here you are in this mod mail and in your comments generalizing multiple groups of people, claiming them to have the same goal as the fucking Nazis. I lost family, always lost family in the Holocaust also. I lost family in the Holocaust. It's you through your words that will cause more harm to the Jewish people. Read a book. Damn. Always be, whenever somebody's like, yeah, I actually am a Jew and I'm a deist, those are always your number one red flag for like super socialists. These will be your most ardent commie socialist defenders.
Some Jewish groups have noted that in your video, you didn't include a reference to October 7th or Hamas leaders who carried out that attack. And it's not easy always to pin you down on this subject, forgive me, but because there aren't many perfect analogies to draw. For instance, not all world leaders or alleged war criminals have ICC warrants, or they're not planning to come to the UN General Assembly, or perhaps they're dead. So my question is that would you, if circumstances were different, would you have vowed to arrest the leaders of Hamas who perpetrated the October 7th attack?
Well, this isn't easy. Yeah, if you would just say, yeah, of course, right?
If they were visiting New York. And if so, why not include something about that to show New Yorkers that, you know, you're presenting a more balanced approach? Why not include that in your video?
Didn't the ICC put forward a warrant for Yahya Sinwar?
Yes.
I mean, I know he's dead. Yeah.
Yes, but my point is that they did. And in the video, I made very clear, as I have before, that my interest in executing that warrant is not specific to Benjamin Netanyahu, but to anyone who they put a warrant towards for war crimes and crimes against humanity. And part of that is a reflection of a universal politics. And it is from a universal politics that I can look in October 7th and describe it for what it is, which is a horrific war crime. And I can also look at Benjamin Netanyahu and see the way that he has orchestrated this genocide and also deem him to similarly be a war criminal. And I think especially at a time...
It's kind of virtue signaling and Mimi, I don't care. I think you should always push the genocide people to admit that October 7th was a genocidal act as well, right? Because if you want to say that, you know, Jewland is engaged in a genocide forever against the Palestinians, okay, fine. But you admit that, like, October 7th, that was definitely, like, a genocidal action as well, right? They never do. I don't think they ever have been pushed on that, and I don't think they would admit that.
When there are those in Washington who are discussing measures to take apart the International Criminal Court, what so many are looking for is a sense that there is, in fact, a rule of law across the world where there are crimes that are so grave that they offend all of humanity. And I believe that we should hold those who perpetrate them accountable, no matter who they are or where they're from. And when it comes to the ICC, they've put forward warrants, whether it's Yahya Sinwar, Benjamin Netanyahu, I think a few other members of the Israeli government. I believe that all of them should be honored.
Some Jewish groups have noted that in your video, you didn't include a reference to October 7th or Hamas leaders who carried out that attack. And it's not easy always to pin you down on this subject, forgive me, but because there aren't many perfect analogies to draw. For instance, not all world leaders or alleged war criminals have ICC
No, not
warrants,
Yergolan. I interviewed that guy. Fuck, who am I thinking of? What was the name of the
UN General Assembly, or
the Minister of Defense?
Perhaps they're dead.
I thought they issued one for him as well.
So my question is that would you, if circumstances were different, would you have vowed to arrest the leaders of Hamas who perpetrated the October 7th attack if they were visiting New York?
Golan?
And if so, why not include something about that to show New Yorkers that, you know, you're presenting a more balanced approach? Why not include that in your video?
Didn't the ICC put forward a warrant for Yahya Sinwar?
I mean, I know he's dead.
Wait, we're re-listening to this. I'm retarded. Yoav Gallant is the former Minister of Defense. Okay, maybe that's what I was thinking of then. I thought they issued a warrant for him as well, though, no?
Want to go
Sneako clips
on a rant like this? It looks really bad when you look over for a split second to figure out which button to press on your soundboard. It really hurts it hurts the delivery.
Osmongold, it looks really bad when you say you don't do any research and you just make it up as you go. It looks really stupid when you say you're going to be a Christian crusader and you're an atheist. It looks really stupid when you say you're too coward to go and debate, but you're begging for more war that you don't even understand. It looks really bad when you always talk about the roaches running around your room. It looks really bad when you say you don't shower for 2 weeks straight and you're wearing the same t-shirt. It looks really bad when you're talking about furthering the white race and then you're there with an Asian OnlyFans girl on your stream.
Is she really an OnlyFans girl?
Like,
not the race mixing, no!
Dude, look in the mirror. You don't debate people because you're a fucking retard. Are you gonna do this thing now?
Okay, so then why if I was a retard, that was going to embarrass myself, why would I do that then?
Dude, that's what he's funny, bro. I know, like, this is the stupid state of streaming because people are afraid. So look at, like, bro, look at this frame right now. This is a post. It went from Twitter to Reddit to, like, how many places? So it goes me, then Osmongold reacting, then me, then Osmongold reacting, then Destiny reacting, and then XQC reacting, and then me reacting. Can you look at that? It's like it's like the Abrahamic it's like trying to trace the lineage of
XQC versus Tink about this.
Ladies, late for dude, he's literally looks like a Goomba. XQC versus Tink about this. Chat, why is this Goomba, dude, why is this brain dead Goomba talking to me? He looks like the Mario Goomba.
We know you are smart, but move smarter since everyone after you.
Do this, do that. How about you go do it yourself, dork? If you're better than me, then you do it. Don't tell me what to do. Love how Osmongold owns it. This cop for Osmongold is like, if I was a retard, that would get exposed.
God.
I don't want that to happen.
Still on that Muslim grift, I see, okay.
So he's just straight up saying he's intellectually dishonest. He's just saying straight up, yeah, I might really be stupid and I don't want to figure it out. What are you saying here? Yosika sending much love from Australia. Shout out to you, bro. Appreciate you. Don't like your government.
Oh my god, he's the fucking smartest retard I know.
This is why I said Asmongold always beats out on Hasan, is because Asmongold is more honest. He can just be more honest.
He's just like, yeah, I am a fucking retard. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Yeah. Oh, shit.
I don't want to debate Destiny. I don't think I would look good. Oh.
Well, fuck.
Fuck me.
Right.
You don't debate because you are retarded and I would make you look retarded.
Damn.
And it would shatter the illusion.
No, he knows what he's doing. I guess you guys, I don't want to be offensive to Chad, but
I do got to be honest too. Like Destiny, completely disagree with him about so many things. He's a Zionist speaking to IDF soldiers, saying, "Okay, IDF soldiers, look, if you're gonna commit crimes and put on a dress, just turn the cameras off." But when I first started streaming in 2022, I had countless debates with Destiny. I think I debated him like 10 times, and he probably won like 8 out of 10 of them. But that was good training. It's like finding a good sparring partner early in the gym, and you like, okay, you get hit, and you figure out.
Debates are not about winning the argument, because a lot of arguments aren't winnable. It's all about how you come out looking like.
No, this is the streamer that focuses on clout. This is the way that they see debates because they're intellectually dishonest. They don't actually care about getting to the truth. He's saying debates are all about optics because he doesn't care about telling the truth. He just wants to monetize his goy kafir audience. That's him. That's why, like, people will avoid the age of consent debate, for example.
We should clear the air on the IDF thing because it's resurging. We clear the air. I've already talked about this a million times. It was a fan meetup. It was like, I think a year and a half ago. And the big thing that was in the media at that time was it was like IDF soldiers going into homes and putting on dresses. And I think the conversation topic that we were having at that fan meetup was basically, why does Israel look like, so shitty to the rest of the world? It was a common thing that I've been asked a lot in my little journey through Israel or whatever. Like, why do we look so horrible to the rest of the country or to the rest of the world? And that was just a thing where I was just like perplexed because I'm like, what? You have soldiers that are they're representative of your country, of your military and your country, and they're going around like, not only are they wearing dresses, which is already stupid, why the fuck are you taking videos of it and posting it online? You look fucking horrible. But people interpreted that as me giving a invite-only meet to the fucking IDF and then coaching them on, well, if you're going to rape and murder Palestinians with dogs, just make sure you turn off the body cam. It's like, okay, chief.
Like, brother, this is a bad PR. They don't want to have that conversation, but if you look at the stats, you're like, wait, why?
Were they even body cams or just filming themselves? No, they were just taking videos on their phones and then sending it to friends and shit. And then obviously these were winding up in the media. It was stupid as fuck.
Why was the age of consent 13 in Japan? Why is it like 16 and 15 all over Europe? Why is it only 18 in like half the states, the other half are not? And like, oh, you're like a pedo for saying that. I'm just telling you what is happening around the world. Let's have a conversation about this. That's like, are you like a pedo? Duh. That's why they avoid conversations, because the majority of people that listen to streamers are kafir goy retards. Literal goy cattle who download whatever a intellectually dishonest streamer who sits in his attic all day while bugs run around his desk. That's all they get their information from.
Damn.
Literally, Osmongold says straight up, he doesn't read, he just makes stuff up based off of what he sees on Twitter. You know what else he sees on Twitter? A literal AI picture manipulated where someone is making it seem like that I'm using Grok to make provocative tweets. He's like, yeah, that's like embarrassing, bro. It was not real. It was not even verified. That was fake. Osmongold, I'm not in here trying to do debate bro tactics. I don't approach conversations like this like a debate bro. I approach it with the Socratic method. I just ask questions and see what people think and try to get to their truth. Have you noticed that most of these conversations, like I can destroy Steiny or Alex Jones just by asking questions and getting them to think and challenge their own belief system?
I'm not going to have enough energy
I'm
for
not
this.
here trying to beat Osmongold. I want to get him to think about all the dumb stuff he says all the time. He says he wants to join a Christian crusade and he's an atheist. That's stupid. He says he wants to go and advocate for more wars and we should keep bombing everyone in the world because putting America first. But he's living in an attic with bugs crawling around, saying that he's the supreme race and he doesn't care about Africans and he wants to go to Mars. It's a constant stupid rhetoric. He's asking Benjamin Netanyahu. I just tweeted this, for example. I want to ask Osmongold about this. Not in here trying to do a gotcha, just get him to challenge his own belief system because he has a very big audience and he's spreading bad information all the time. Right here, look at this. I added Osmongold here. This got 10K likes.
Osmongold.
Right? 'Cause I do my research. Ben Gvir took this photo. This is Michael Ben Ari, founder of Itamar, the Jewish Power Party. Look him up. Itamar is Ben Gvir's party. His party is called the Jewish Power Party. This is the founder of that party. This is the Bible that he's tearing up. For all the retarded Americans, all the kafir,
not the
all
Bible.
the kuffar that believe that these demons are your allies, look at what they think of you. Osmongold thinks that these people are his allies. This is the founder of Ben Gvir's party. One of the most influential people in Israeli politics, ripping up the Bible. Osmongold said he's going to be a Christian crusader. What do you think about your greatest ally tearing up your
I don't think Osmongold gives a fuck about Israel, bro.
holy book? Do you care, or are you just going to turn a blind eye?
Like, I think he would say we shouldn't work with.
Honest, or are you just a grifter shill getting paid by some intelligence agency to spread slop to your dumb audience? What is it?
Yeah, no, shout out to John. I appreciate that. Absolutely. And yeah, there it is. And but it was people, Sneako, that casted the first stone. I think it was. I mean, I think there's a lot of those examples.
Do you think that XQC is right about debates just being about how you look to the audience? I mean, to some extent, but people view debates as training, I think. A big formal debate is training, which is the wrong way to view it. You should view debates as like an athletic competition, basically, right? So when somebody says something like, oh, well, you don't become stronger you don't become better at football by going to the playoffs, right, and playing there. It's just about who has the better game. Well, yeah, that's true, but like, the better game should be had by the person that spent more time training to be a better athlete, right? And the debate thing should be the same. If you feel really strongly about a position, you should be well researched in it. You should know the opposing points, and you should be able to argue that point convincingly. Like, it's not the fact that you won the debate that means that your point is correct, and that's when you learn everything. It should be the process of preparing for that debate that your audience sees and that everybody else sees, or that at least is shown while you're having that conversation, you know?
Right. I mean, clearly it was.
It is lying now.
And he was kicked out of 109 friend groups. I think it was more than that, but I'm not sure.
Oh, he's watching the stream
let me
right
scroll
now.
down.
Hey,
I'm going to look at this.
This Kabbalah wizard is literally watching the stream right now, live tweeting about it. In a few weeks, Sneako will have a whole loadout. Sneako's practicing in the mirror with this. You're just going to go on a Twitter space and talk because you called yourself a pedophile and now you're banned from Kick. That's all you're going to do. I'm just making this up. Let me bring it up again. I'm being egotistical. Delete this. Post this.
Damn.
Sneako made me. It is what it is. Good boy. I made you, and then you threw your career away. You threw away your career to go call yourself a pedophile and try to scam kids with palm reading Kabbalah magic. You're nothing. Osmongold and Laura Loomer and Pablo Fuenstein sound identical now. I'm going to commit a terrorist attack. You know what people are also not talking about? Look what goes viral and look what doesn't. Trump just says he's not Christian. Nick Fuentes.
Her fan from Morocco since old days, and F as Mangoyi Y.
Not for Osmongoy.
Okay. Okay. Do you think Sneako would debate you? Maybe, but I don't even know what we would debate on. I don't know. Ugh. Oh, shit. 1.5 thousand likes. Going to be so real for a minute. I find Hasan amusing, agree with him politically for the most part, and will defend him against blatant smears. However, he's not exempt from criticism. I need this man to lock the fuck in. We don't need to cover the 200th article with the same tired smears on stream for like 2 hours, nor do we need to do the stupid leftist drama fighting bullshit. MAGA wants us fighting. I want to see actual change in the world, man. Don't get sucked into the bait of it all. Make your message clear and stay on task. Oh, no! Ooh. I have to unblock this person to retweet them. Unless they have me blocked. Fuck, they have me blocked. We have each a mutual block. Damn. Jared Moskowitz has dropped out of tonight's debate against Oliver Larkin. Oh, shit. Wait, why? Is he not... Is that like considered a close race in Florida 25? I haven't followed that at all. I know that Hasan types really want Moskowitz gone because he's Jewish. He's down by 30. Who's down by 30? Moskowitz or the guy who's running against him? The DSA guy's down. Okay.
I'll give you one great example of this. Abdul El-Sayed versus Haley Stevens. Abdul El-Sayed has been called an Islamic terrorist, an Islamic-style woman hater, an aggressive Arab over and over and over again. He's not electable. He's Muslim. He's too Muslim.
Who's saying that? Which Democrats are saying that? He's too Muslim. What? I know. I'm sure there are some people. I know there was that one recording of that woman who said the weird thing about like you can't trip with your Arab music or something, or Arabic music. That was kind of weird. But like in terms of big politicians or people on her campaign,
it is classic Islamophobia. The idea that this brown guy is scary and hates women, when he has never demonstrated women hatred in any way, shape, or form. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yet the critiques of Abdul only work in one direction. They claim he's a misogynist over and over again.
God, his new way of speaking triggers the fuck out of me. Ugh.
Okay. Abdul has even come out and said, we should not focus on, I've seen online people attacking my opposition. They should stop doing that. He didn't take ownership over it, which is fine, but he still recognized it, right?
He shouldn't. Don't ever apologize.
He did the classic Bernie
always
bro
be attacking.
Lean.
Always be
in
attacking.
In the same way that Bernie had done in the past.
Oh,
where
no.
He apologized for the Bernie bros. He was forced to apologize for it. It was a bad decision for Bernie, and it was a bad decision for Abdul as well. Okay?
Yeah, in case you were wondering, Hasan just turned 35, so he probably shaved because he wanted to look younger for his birthday. Which is fucking hilarious, but...
It's only one side that has to constantly...
Hey! Where have I heard these talking points before? Hey! Only one side. You can't do the unilateral disarmament, guys. It can't be just us that's disavowing over and over again. Hey!
Constantly abide by the false standard of perfection that people create. Okay?
Mm-hmm. True.
So I say, if your opposition is engaging in cynical framing,
then you should do it too.
If your opposition is engaging in this cynical framework that they do not abide by, don't play by those rules. Don't play by their rules. You do not have to play by their rules at all. That's simply not true, says the beefy man. I don't know what you're talking about.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, the new thing is ogre on a pike. They're saying that he called Haley Stevens an ogre. That's not true. He was calling John Fetterman an ogre. Right?
Okay. Based. Oh, hold on. Post in the Destiny subreddit. Oh, no, wait. This is from the Bulwark. Abdul El-Sayed faces Islamophobic attacks from GOP and Democratic establishment. Oh, from The Intercept. AIPAC has spent nearly $30 million against the Michigan Democratic Senate candidate, fielding ads that paint him as a terrorist. I don't trust any of these AIPAC numbers anymore. They have lost my trust. The flipping that one girl from taking AIPAC money to not taking AIPAC, and then putting the saying that the one guy is now AIPAC supported despite never having. I don't trust it. I think all of that shit is fucking bullshit now. I don't trust any of it anymore. This shit is a fucking joke. Want to know a quick and easy way to go from red to green? Frowny face, red background, 475K spent by pro-Israel PACs. Smiley face. Ah, she rejects PACs. Or rejects AIPAC. It's because she's running against this guy. Scott Wiener, does he take money from them? No. Do they spend money on him? No. He's just pro-Israel. I don't even know how. I don't even know what the fuck that means. Is there any defense for this? Yeah, they hate Jews. Somebody said Ryan Grimm wrote an article on Haley Stevens staffer? Is that true? Big old hat tip to Ryan Grimm for this. Stevens' campaign parts ways with consultant after Palantir work comes to light. Kaylin Legaki of Legaki Consulting, and formerly one of Stevens' key spokespeople during her 2026 primary run, had her contract terminated recently after the Stevens campaign learned of her work with Palantir. Okay. The news of Legaki's departure was first reported by Ryan Grimm of Drop Site News. Grimm said he uncovered her dual role as a consultant with Palantir and asked the campaign for a comment. Grimm also noted that Legaki was a senior fellow for Third Way, a center-left think tank. Grimm reports that Third Way has played heavily in the August primary race between Stevens and El-Sayed, who are both vying for the Democratic U.S. Senate nomination to face Republican former U.S. Representative Mike Rogers in the fall. Between December 2025 and March 2026, she was paid $35,000 for her work for Stevens' campaign. It's never like actual positions, and it's never actual like things that the person says they're going to vote for anything. It's always just like these, who are you tied to, and who, like, how much can I, like, as far as possible, like, align you with some kind of evil, like, terrible Jew or something. This guy is so fucking cringe, dude. Holy shit. It's over for Nolan. Ben Shapiro's Odyssey review is a disaster. This is insane. Jonathan Pegu's Odyssey review. Is this the truth? Even Emily Wilson hated Nolan's Odyssey. The real reason why we reject Nolan's Odyssey, the real history behind the Odyssey will blow your mind. It's not a myth. Why Arabs will always lose against the West. My definitive biased review of Nolan's Odyssey. Historian destroys Chloe versus history. Oh, I don't know what the fuck. The only 100% honest review of Nolan's Odyssey. Jesus Christ. Farm those culture wars talking points. What a loser. Oh my God. What is this?
And you understand.
Streamed 11 months ago.
And you kind of lay this out, that Bernie, AOC, these types, they come from a long tradition of democratic socialists from like UK, Australia.
Weird. What is this?
Leave.
Peace code.
I don't want you here if it triggers you. No one's saying define down to the fucking speck, down to the mole of thing. No one's saying that. Just define in broad strokes.
Okay, don't care. Okay, don't care. What is this? Okay. This. Oh, Pisco crash out. Unhinged crash out over the DSA. Wait, what?
Leave.
Oh, that's what this was?
Leave. I don't want you here if it triggers you. No one's saying define down to the fucking speck, down to the mole of thing. No one's saying that. Just define in broad strokes what the concept is getting at. So this is just a total straw man. It's not at all my view that you need to get down to the molecule, down to the exact point in time when you're in. No, that's not even close to what's going on here. And if that's your read, you're delusional and leave.
Damn. Delusional.
There was no internal immigration system until the Page Act, 1875. And that was highly limited. Open borders.
Okay, well, 1875. What? Why are we even? What? Wait, is he arguing against any type of? No. In our conversation, he said it was still. Obviously, we probably have to have some kind of border enforcement. He must be arguing something different.
Does anyone disagree with that? Who disagrees with that? It's just a matter of historical record. It's actually pathetic, the caliber of intellect on some of these arguments.
Okay.
Truly.
He's in pure debate pedophilia mode. Okay.
And especially, I resent people who are like, don't clarify what you mean. Like, just say what you mean. Like, we would get so much quicker to where we need to go if you just say, this is what I mean by in the coalition intent. Credit to Riddell, he did it, right? And then like, okay, now we can have a conversation. And I think on that view, that's like a very broad, like a lot of things, a lot of really, really, really bad ideas are compatible with liberalism. Thank you so much for this up. A lot of really horrible ideas are compatible with liberal democracy. Saying something is compatible with liberal democracy is not to say that it's good.
Oh my god, you're watching Pisco watch this?
Okay, this is just some chud shit. I mean, like, I'm not in favor of open borders, but the question is only whether it's compatible with liberal democracy. Having irresponsible social insurance programs is compatible with liberal democracy. Just think for 2 seconds. You guys are like so too triggered to think. It's pathetic.
Damn.
Explain what the treaties with Indian reservations were if they weren't literal.
I mean, that's true. I mean, we were a liberal democracy when we had slavery. You can argue that slavery, I mean, definitionally was compatible with a liberal democracy. I mean, that is true.
Orders. We're talking about immigration enforcement. In the context of American Indians, it's a sui generis interaction with the tribes. These were considered pseudo-sovereigns. It's not generalizable to what we're talking about. These were treaties that dealt, yes, with sovereignty, also with rights to respective usages, rights to land occupation, that kind of stuff. And I'm just not sure how that is inconsistent with anything I just said. So rather than just ask general questions, thank you so much. That is immigration enforcement. Wait, what is immigration? A treaty is immigration enforcement? Explain that. Explain how a treaty is immigration enforcement. They were not allowed to claim land or live in places outside of their reservations. Source? So the sovereignty was moved to particular places. People were forcibly moved, but as a matter of internal, you're saying it was against the law for an American Indian to be in America?
Did you talk about your panel yet?
In respect to the fact that
my panel
with Dinesh debate, I guess.
Oh no, not really.
He had some of the most fucking retarded question askers I've seen yet.
Yeah.
Look at how many trade deals Trump's done. What? Huh?
I feel like on this, I think for this style of debate, I should have just prepared. I guess or I should have just started speaking to the audience. I guess that was how pointless. It was just like. It was like a total fantasy land of points. I don't even know what the fuck the point of arguing that was. It was just...
Yeah, it was
Jesus.
Retarded.
Some people were forcibly moved. Was it against the law? Citation needed. And not at all what we're talking about. What else were people saying? They say on the platform itself they believe in a classless society and they can govern themselves. Seems like the underlying principle. It seems like the... okay, name one policy which is incompatible with liberal democracy, as you understand it. And this is not to condone any policy. And people will hear this and be like, "Oh my god, you could like." It's just so embarrassing. Like people need to be embarrassed.
How long am I watching this for?
Like, disgustingly ill thought out their critiques are of my positions.
Maybe 6, 7.
Oh, good one.
The Avatar movie. I haven't seen the. Have there been 2 since the original one? The Treaty of Fort Laramie. Okay, let's look it up. By the way, wait, 1868 you said? This is along the time period of when I said open borders, like, ended. So I said 1875 with the Page Act, but so this would be consistent with my position as well. So pick something, I assume you think pre-1868, America was a liberal democracy. So you're going to have to pick something closer in time to the founding of the country or something. Because I could even just grant it 1868. Okay, before then it was a liberal democracy, open borders. So I won't even look it up. When do you want? I don't even know what you want to debate. What do you think the proposition of our disagreement is? Put it into like a sentence. The proposition.
He said, "Put it in a sentence, bro."
Like, I just see everything differently now after years of doing these debates. Like 90% of this is just a complete, total breakdown in communication. Yeah, no doubt. Indian treaties predate the country after the day. Well, we were trying to say whether open borders are compatible with liberal democracy. And in general, there was open borders in America since its founding.
I love
now
open
tribes,
borders.
squat tribes were moved, where people were forcibly relocated, people were genocided, but in general, there was open borders. That is a true statement. You don't believe in open... I don't believe in open borders as a policy. The question is whether it's compatible with liberal democracy. I don't think you're keeping up. Again, this is like really pathetic. There's only like... Do I need to draw this out?
Uh-oh.
It is a matter of record that for the majority of this country's history, there was no restrictive immigration policy for individuals.
Well,
that's only to show that that open borders is not contradictory with liberal democracy. In virtue of what are they not compatible? Again, I'm representing to you the first restrictive immigration laws on the books in America existed in like the 1870s. If your counter examples are from that, we're just proving the point. This is just logic. You guys so fucking ill-equipped. You can't even like listen to logic. All right, I'll draw it out for you guys. It is embarrassing. Fills me with disdain. Here we go. If America...
Okay. I don't think he's wrong here. Like...
Really? You think Pisco's right then?
Well, that's an extreme statement. It says something is incompatible with liberal democracy. There's a lot of things that are probably compatible with liberal democracy.
Good job, 10-minute ads. You made him agree.
True. The guilt by association double standard. They turn every single person who steps on a stage with El Sayed, like Hasan Piker, into a national scandal, demanding 24/7 denunciations and purity tests. Meanwhile, students can happily pocket millions from super PACs. Pocket millions? You don't get money. You don't get paid directly by super PACs. What a shit fucking AI article. Why is this in the Bulwark? Oh, it got downvoted to oblivion at least. Jesus Christ. Oh, and the top comment says, or at least...
When you say in the Bulwark, you mean the subreddit, right?
Yeah.
Smart.
Is she pocketing the money, or are they spending it in support of her? Not trying to... Okay. Seems it would be illegal for her to pocket the money. It's probably the latter. Populous and uninformed voters actually think this is how it all works, so when journalists who know better phrase it like that, they know exactly what harm they're doing. True. Uh-oh, another APAC boogeyman.
I love APAC.
Oh, really? You love genocide.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Funny. This was a very funny outrage. Hasan Piker. Yeah, this was very funny. This was a very funny outrage. Hasan Piker framed the 9/11 front page. This is an enemy of America. It's like, first of all, it's called Never Forget. Okay.
Epic. Epic.
Hey, Twitch, you okay with this? I don't mean that to be funny. I'm actually asking, are you actually okay with this? Why would Twitch ban me?
It's literally in their TOS, but you know.
A framed newspaper of 9/12 of the New York Times. That would be fucking insane.
But that is true. They would never ban Hasan. That would be insane.
True.
Shrimpalized.
It is probably the most singularly important historic event of all of our lifetime. That is insane. Hasan Piker now displays a frame 9/12 newspaper showing the Twin Towers in flames behind him on stream. History enthusiasts when it isn't World War II or the Roman Empire. Yeah, that was really funny. Has the September 12, 2001 New York Times framed on his set. You know what's really funny about all this, by the way? They all complained about this. And then one day later, Donald Trump came out and was like, hey, you know that country that had the most to do with 9/11, Saudi Arabia?
That's not true, by the way. But
going to give that country nuclear weapons, potentially, a pathway to develop nukes. There is nothing funnier than watching the entire conservative sphere lose their collective minds and try to manufacture outrage over a non-issue that most normal people will be like, yeah, it's a fucking profoundly important historic event. That was
a profoundly important historic event. Play the clip.
What, America deserved 9/11?
Oh my fucking God. I hate all AI. I changed my mind. The fact that we can't... TV show. I don't know what the TV show is. I'm not going to be able to find it.
Oh my God.
This would have just come up immediately before.
You're booming out, dude.
Never mind.
Try DuckDuckGo.
No, I don't care. Too late. Don't care.
A farm operation, manufactured outrage operation that I think kind of fell flat. And we moved on.
That and apologized.
Wait, the what?
Flat. Manufactured outrage operation that I think kind of fell flat. And we moved on.
That and apologized after saying that America deserved 9/11. In the latest firestorm, addressed college Democrats in a Mao-style suit. Look at that. And it's interesting, guys.
A Chinese suit, guys.
How was that? He went from implying that I appreciated 9/11 to, and he wore a suit, and it's fucked up. What a high note to end it on, man. Yeah, this.
Okay, one more Hasan Slappa. What's this? Wait, was that you or Hasan? Hold on.
That was me.
Oh.
I'm getting good at it, though.
Okay.
It's not necessarily Senate abolition per se. It's more so just making a more democratic and more representative process.
Then why not
it's
say
Senate
that?
abolition.
Yeah, and it is Senate abolition. But I was like, why pick the dumbest fucking slogan then, if that's not what you mean at all? Like, Jesus Christ.
But once again, we can have disagreements on this stuff, but you're just trying to present this as like unbelievably silly. What's the benefit of abolishing prisons? Lol. Great question.
The problem is that the prison system is really just state-sanctioned violence against workers because the prison system only exists to protect the business owners and the capitalists.
Carceral structure is not designed around
protecting
benefiting.
civilians. Yes, it's to benefit capital owners. Benefit capital owners. I'm ready to come.
What is the purpose of prison, right?
To benefit capital owners.
The purpose of prison, theoretically, is supposed to cordon off bad individuals that have violated the rules and like broken some fundamental rules in society so that we can all continue living in society in harmony, right? Guys, stop. I'm explaining it to a normie, and you're like, it's fucking slavery. Yes.
What?
I'm trying not to... Maybe I should just type it to you and then you can say it. Because I don't want to get anybody in trouble. I'm typing it.
Okay.
Just shut the fuck up. Okay? Just stop for 1 second. Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
the entire benefit, thank you. The entire purpose of prisons, in theory, okay? The entire purpose of prisons, in
slow
theory,
it down for us, Hasan. Explain it, please.
Is to create a more harmonious society. Societies have rules and regulations. There's a social contract. When someone violates those contracts, when someone violates those rules, we have to punish them. We have to cordon them off of regular society. And ultimately, the goal is supposed to be to rehabilitate them, because prisons are not supposed to be permanent.
Of course.
Like the purpose of a prison system is not to like permanently cordon off someone from society unless they've done, a heinous crime and it's virtually impossible for them to rehabilitate. But that's not the North Star, right? The whole point is when someone does something heinous, we take them away from civilized society so they can't continue doing harm. And the ultimate purpose of this is not to permanently torture these people, because it's not supposed to be about vengeance, right? It's supposed to be about justice.
Vengeance.
And justice is about ensuring that these people learn their lesson and they never commit the same wrongdoing ever again. So if that's the actual theoretical purpose of the prison system, how can you look at the American carceral system and say that this has been successful when we have an unbelievably higher recidivism rate in this country than all other civilized nations, all other developed nations, all other OECD nations? This means that the current carceral system in the United States of America has been disastrous, because our current carceral system in the United States of America cares little about ensuring that the rate of recidivism is lowered. What I'm talking about when I say recidivism, for people that don't know, is people who reoffend. They go to prison, they come out of prison, and they reoffend. People in the United States of America that like the current structure, that sometimes even have
family members in there,
a financial investment in the continuation of this current torturous prison structure.
Hell yeah.
Say,
the capital
oh,
owners.
well, our rate of recidivism is terrible in this country. That means we just need to be more cruel.
Yeah, everybody
We
says
need
that.
to be more
True,
ruthless in our
King.
prison system. This doesn't solve the problem at all. Look no further than Nordic-style democracies, okay, where their prison system is far more humane, and therefore they have a much lower rate of recidivism, of reoffending, a rate of reoffense in those countries, okay?
True. King, true.
Well, I am not a prison abolitionist. I understand where prison abolitionists are coming from,
I thought the GOP ones were supposed to make you not hungry.
and I believe
Maybe
that
this is
they're
the only
closer
meal.
to the truth
Oh,
than
true.
the normal
last.
position in American society, which is like we need to throw away people and lock them up and torture them endlessly.
Yes, endless torture.
That is insane. That is inhumane. That's incompatible with civilized democracy. And that's not something that other countries, even our Western allies or counterparts, actually are on board with. But if I were to steel man the prison abolitionist position,
Jesus
as someone who's done a
Christ.
decent amount of reading on this subject matter,
what did he say?
Oh, he's done a decent amount of He's an educated man. How many books has he read on prison abolitionism? I'm sure so many.
This guy has not read shit.
from Angela Davis and onward,
See? Angela Davis. But
what
you
I
don't.
would say is this. Prison abolitionists believe that the overwhelming majority, if not damn near entirety, of all crime, even crime born out of antisocial personality disorder,
is a crime of poverty.
Is the root cause of all of that crime is material conditions. So if you solve the underlying material inequities, there will no longer be any need for
crime.
The current car.
Famously, people whose material needs are met never, ever, ever commit crime. And we know this because of all the famous societies that have existed in the past that have solved crime, by the way.
Cultural structure. Okay? That's it.
Thank you. True.
Prison abolitionists do not believe in ending all prisons tomorrow.
Oh.
Prison abolitionists don't believe that. I'm not a prison abolitionist, but you have to be honest about what they believe. Prison abolitionists believe that we need
Not
to
all Nazis
move
want to kill the Jews.
True.
to a healthier
I'm not a Nazi,
society
but-
where there is no more need for prison.
Oh, shit.
Okay?
We just have to make it so nobody commits crimes anymore. That's such a much more reasonable position. Hell yeah.
True. Why would a billionaire
not
commit a
true.
crime? They have all the money in the world.
True.
Okay. What's the prison abolitionist position then?
Let me tell you.
I think that's a pretty fair assessment.
Dare contradict Daddy Hasan? They better not have.
Let him finish his fucking mouthful, man.
Jesus fucking
Give him a second. Is the rest of the stream just him fucking eating?
No, chill.
Or that the people didn't have too much of a say. So we want to expand Congress significantly, but make it a unicameral legislature.
Okay, and without the presidency and Supreme Court, so abolish ICE, would there be any enforcement of immigration laws, or with abolishing the border, we're not enforcing immigration laws, they go away?
Yeah, so again, this is part of this longer term plan, and part of it
But if you
includes,
can get there.
Yeah, I mean, if we can get to the place where the U.S. is not destabilizing countries in order to mine them for resources, there will be significantly less migration.
What do you say to
if
those,
we are
though,
not...
that would potentially destabilize the U.S.? Because there's only so much the economy can bear, and when you have a flood of people coming in, it might not work out economically, according to a lot of analyses, if you just open up the borders and there's no enforcement at all.
Well, we're not saying open the borders tomorrow. We're saying rebuild.
Was that, wait, why did they include all of this? Okay.
What?
Okay. Based.
Good one, 10
Based
minute
Clipper.
ads.
That's an undercover
Oh, wait, that's
DGGer.
Audrey.
Yeah, that's an undercover DGGer right there. Hell yeah.
Do you think we could get her on our side? I'm playing Lego Star Wars right now.
Yeah, how is it?
It's alright. The Skywalker Saga. Are we gonna watch the debate?
Which one?
Stevens versus Syed in an hour, 2 hours.
Oh, fuck. I have a tanky panel.
What do you mean you got a tanky panel?
I don't know. They
with Wick?
No, a bunch of other streamers talking about the tanky thing. What time is the actual LCA debate?
7:30.
Oh, it's at 8, so I'll probably be fine.
Oh, well, yeah, you're cooked.
Wait, what was that? Streamer finally beats FF8 boss Ultimecia after spending hours on that fight. Was he doing like a challenge, or is he just, or she just special? Okay. Whatever. Good job.
You don't get it, man.
You watch Matthew Iglesias on Pod Save America? Ooh. Did he really go on?
Boy, I bet that's gonna be riveting.
We don't need lip service.
Lip
I'm
service?
not a celebrity candidate.
El Sayed versus Stevens, and so much more.
Outsider anti-establishment is exactly what we need right now.
I'm very frightened by what I see going on in the Democratic Party.
A Democratic family feud.
You can't keep going in the same direction if you keep losing.
A must-win Senate seat, and a big battleground state.
I honestly don't know right now.
A packed church basement on a steamy summer evening.
All right, friends, money out of?
The insurgent keeps it simple.
Try that one again. Money out of? Politics! Money in your? Medicare for? All!
And he pulls no punches.
8-pack shouldn't be able to dominate our politics. Corporations shouldn't be able to dominate our politics. Chuck Schumer should no longer be Senate leader for anything.
Abdul El Sayed is 41, the son of Egyptian immigrants, the former Wayne County health director.
You know, I don't pay my taxes thinking, man, I can't wait for Israel to get another tank.
True.
I can't wait for Egypt to get another set of bombs.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Another church meeting hall, also just across the Detroit city line.
This is the best of Michigan.
Haley Stevens is 43, in her 4th term in Congress. Before that, worked for President Obama's Auto Industry Task Force.
The work that I was a part of when it mattered. You know, the work that we cannot forget.
No talk of revolution here. It is, yes, old school.
Big old rallies are nice things. I want to see who's in the neighborhood. I want to see who has pastor on speed dial, mayor on speed dial.
Promises to take on Trump, tax the rich, lower health care costs, but also talk that sometimes compromise brings progress. And a reminder, this is Purple Michigan. Stevens flipped a Republican-held seat to get to Congress.
I became the first pro-labor, pro-power of the people Democrat since before the moon landing to hold that seat.
The roots of this fight don't go back quite that far.
Michigan had a huge role in the first round of this insurgent versus establishment battle in the Democratic Party. That was a decade ago. The fight card, Bernie Sanders versus Hillary Clinton. Now, this state and this Senate race by far the most consequential test, as the revolution, that's what Sanders and his allies call it, tries to prove not only that it's back, but that it's bigger, deeper, stronger, and that this is its moment to remake the party. Mamdani in New York, a handful of blue congressional districts, Graham Plattner in Maine until he imploded. But this race is bigger. It's a 2026 midterm battleground Senate race the Democrats simply cannot afford to lose. And Michigan will have a huge role in both the nomination chase and the general election in 2028, when we pick the next president.
Yeah, first day of the strike.
First day.
The rats are ratting?
Rats say rats.
Maiwan. Lads, it has been a pleasure. I adore you guys. Please be safe and be good. I'll see you on the other side, maybe, or I may get headhunted by jihadis in Mali. I'm not sure. I'm not too sure right now, but lol. Murphy's Law, as always. They got her. I'm next up. Where are you going? She left, bro. Why did Dustin delete all of his old posts in this thread saying he had nothing to go to the cops? Delete what posts? Where's my... But not these random memes about Shaylin. She left, said some logs are going to come out about her that will make her look bad, and didn't want to cause trouble for others being here. Oh, ooh. Iwand is in real deep with a lot of really disgusting bad shit, but none of that's public yet. But I guess she...
What do you mean?
As in just the amount of, like, activities that she's been involved in relating to me and people around me has been pretty unhinged.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And you're not going to make it public yet?
No. Well, we're supposed to be...
Waiting on the manifesto?
Yeah.
Tonya Rincon worked the
Is
Ford
my one the
assembly
crazy
line
girl who, like...
Yes.
Well, hold on. The Australian one who's, like, searching for pedos?
No. Sorry.
Okay.
She's the one who wrote the huge thing about tomfoolery and writes essays.
Oh, got it.
Yeah. Whoa! Why did my phone go off? Marion County kidnapped child.
Breaking news!
In Ocala. Where are my DGGers at?
Nathan's okay, right?
Yeah, he's back home now.
Thank God.
They may be traveling in a 2021 red Hyundai Santa Fe.
Classic. Actually classic.
What?
30 years. Her initial Senate
Where the hell's
choice
Renlock?
with the race.
So I'm all the way in for Abdul.
Wow.
Rincon rejects the idea he's too liberal to win statewide. Her worry is what might happen if Al Sayed loses the primary.
There are some young people that are falling in love, and I do worry that if Abdul doesn't win, they will be disenchanted, just like the Bernie Hillary kind of thing.
Nearly half of Michigan's population lives in Detroit and its close-in suburbs.
So this is Dearborn, suburban Detroit, majority Arab, and a big piece of why Vice President Harris lost here in 2024. She lost statewide by 80,000 votes just here in Dearborn. She got 15,000
Do you think Dearborn
votes.
voters gave a lot of a fuck about what was going on in Gaza?
I think they did, yeah. Didn't like 50% of them vote for Jill Stein?
I don't know if it was 50%. I think it was like 20 or 30%. Yeah, there's a lot of them.
Huge percentage, yeah.
In 2024.
I learned that today.
Than Joe Biden did when he won Dearborn and won Michigan in 2020. 15,000 votes in one small city. Why? Arab American voters mad. Then at Biden and Harris, for what they thought was a green light to Israel and Gaza. Now those voters are mad at Trump. He's the president. El-Sayed hopes to tap that anger. He says he will be their voice. He says he will stand up to Trump, who he calls a dumbass, who lets Israel run his foreign policy. And he says he'll also stand up to a Democratic establishment that he says is still beholden to AIPAC, the pro-Israeli political action committee.
Damn it!
It's a huge issue in the Democratic Party right now and a giant defining issue in this race.
Walter Robinson Jr. lives in neighboring Dearborn Heights. Its population, 40% Arab. Affordability is by far Robinson's top issue. He is voting El-Sayed because he's a union guy, and he trusts the United Auto Workers endorsement process.
There's a lot of people that feel like that the union shouldn't tell them what to do or how to vote. But like I said, connecting the ballot box to your bread box is vitally important.
Robinson doesn't agree with El-Sayed on everything, but he compares his constant attacks on the Democratic establishment to Donald Trump's insurgent takeover of the GOP a decade ago.
You have to do something different, and this might just be enough
Fishback
just
won
to
his
shake things
ballot
up.
challenge
What's your
suit.
favorite spot
Damn.
you visited in Michigan so far?
Jade Gray is 22, just a year out of college, but she's worked as a Democratic organizer for 5 years and helped her first campaign.
Dearborn was 18% for Jill Stein. Was it Arab voters then that were 50%? I feel like I heard that 50% number thrown around a lot.
At age 12 in 2016.
I think we're seeing two paths emerge for the Democratic Party, and this is going to be one of a few examples of where we're really headed.
Gray is from northern Michigan, Trump country. She predicts El-Sayed will do well in the primary there.
We are seeing the most engagement from Democrats than we've ever seen before in that area. Maybe this progressive mindset, this Medicare for all, money out of politics, isn't so radical and could work for us.
Gray takes El-Sayed's side of the Israel divide.
One is an AIPAC-backed candidate who is, unapologetically
AIPAC
pro
backed.
thank you Israel, and Abdul
But
is
she's
against that.
very critical of Netanyahu.
Doesn't matter.
Right,
Not enough.
she's critical of Netanyahu. I appreciate that, but who
God, I
she's
hate
funded
AIPAC.
by, I don't think walks that walk. I like seeing a candidate who's, unapologetically anti-Zionist.
Hell yeah. Say it, girl. Say it, queen. That's not what you wanted to say.
Novice.
Anti-Jew.
And he is more than anxious about this primary.
I think they're creating litmus tests, suggesting that Israel shouldn't exist, or being unwilling, as El-Sayed is, to affirm the idea that Israel has a right to exist as a state, doesn't move us closer to peace.
Lippitt sees El-Sayed as part of a broader, troubling Democratic shift.
The socialist drift of the party and the hardline and somewhat radical positions that they take are not good for the state or good for the country.
He loathes Trump and wants a Democratic Senate. But Lippitt says he and many other Jewish voters will face a painful choice if El-Sayed wins the primary.
I think there are a lot of people that won't vote for El-Sayed.
Are you one of them?
Probably. I don't feel
Damn.
like
Retard.
the Democratic Party is a safe space.
Traverse City is along the spectacular Lake Michigan, population 16,000. Northern Michigan is mostly
Damn,
rural,
Kay from YouTube
in
giving
every
4
way,
tier 5
a
subs.
long way from Detroit and its suburbs. Ashley Ayala lives in a town of 1,500 people.
Business has
Works
been
for a
booming.
nonprofit conservation group.
There we go.
These goats working one section at a time to clear rural land.
What do you want from the Democratic Party? What's missing?
Oh,
Tell them.
I mean, there's a list of things. Where do I start?
We got all day.
Healthcare and childcare costs are her biggest stresses, and she likes what she hears from El-Sayed there. But Stevens has appeal too. Ayala thinks her experience might help get things done. Sometimes thinks her more moderate views might help in November, especially in rural areas like this.
When it comes down to pen to paper, it'll end up being who has a better chance at winning.
You're not sure who that is, right?
I don't. I have no clue.
Do you see yourself as kind of a referee, one of the referees, the voters, in kind of a Democratic civil war or family feud?
I've always been a referee my entire life. Yeah.
Ayala knows it's a giant choice for Michigan and beyond. And there's just a bit more time to chew it over. John King, CNN,
Goat.
Maple City, Michigan.
What? Say it.
Let's go. Choose.
Really?
So, you remember at
Yeah,
the
you
start
gotta
of the
say
Iran war?
Oh, I watched this.
No one cares.
Welcome
Your
to Pod Save
retards
America.
in chat were calling it propaganda.
Uh-oh. Oh, damn. That's a whole ass thing.
I'm John Favreau. On today's show, writer and founder of the Slow Boring newsletter, Matt Iglesias. We've had a lot of people on the show make the case for why the Democratic Party should move to the left, and a lot of progressive candidates who represent that direction. We've also had plenty of people, including us, critique the Democratic establishment. We haven't really had someone on, at least in a while, make a full-throated case for a center-left politics that emphasizes moderation. I know that probably sounds exciting and not at all annoying to many of you. Matt recently wrote a piece titled How the Center-Left Can Come Back in 2028 that's based in part on a series of critical, tough questions that Nate Silver recently posed to the center-left. I found both Nate's questions and Matt's response really useful in understanding where folks like Matt are coming from and what they're looking for from the party in 2028 and beyond. I also had plenty of questions of my own, so I invited Matt on to see if he had some answers, and he did. We talked about how important issue positions are in a presidential primary, the role of charisma in the ability to get attention, why Democrats have lost in recent elections, and who on the current bench might be able to win in 2028. It was a great conversation, and we will get to it in a moment. Before we do, please consider becoming a paying subscriber to Friends of the Pod. Subscribers unlock ad-free episodes of all their favorite Crooked Pods, including Pod Save America, all our great subscriber-only newsletters, and exclusive subscriber-only podcasts like Pod Save America Only Friends and Polar Coaster with Dan Pfeiffer. Plus, becoming a subscriber is the best way to support your favorite pro-democracy independent media company.
Damn.
Head on over to crooked.com/friends to subscribe. Matt, welcome to Pod Save America.
Really good to be here.
So I wanted to talk about the factional debate within the Democratic Party over how to actually win some national elections, and thought, who better to do that with than the online left's favorite pundit, who can faithfully represent the views of the neo-lib shill faction. And I think a good place to start is with your recent piece about how the center-left can come back in 2028, where your one big answer is that the center-left needs a 2028 presidential primary campaign that articulates its critique of the status quo. Before we get to the critique itself, why a presidential campaign?
You know, I think something we see in politics is that political parties are really defined by their presidential campaigns and by their leadership. Everybody, I mean, you, me, people with all different kinds of ideological viewpoints are frustrated about where Democrats are at now, and they want them to be clearer and have a better message. But realistically, there's just not that much that Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries can do. You're herding cats on Capitol Hill. It's presidential campaigns. Donald Trump comes in, he wins a nomination. It totally redefines what the Republican Party is about, for good and for ill. And that's what's going to happen in 28, right? There's going to be a contest. Somebody is going to win it. That person will be the leader. What Democrats stand for is going to be, largely whatever it is that person stands for. And until then, you try to have good candidates in the key races. You hope they win. Everyone's going to have some who they like more than others, but it's going to be a mess.
Yeah, I thought about that after the 2025 off-year elections, when everyone had this Goldilocks view of it, where they're like, well, you had some more center-left moderate candidates winning in some places, and Mamdani wins in New York, and so it's all great. We don't have to fight that much. It's like, well, yeah, it's easier to do in a midterm or a set of off-year elections than a presidential election. That's where the rubber hits the road. So you make clear that this center-left critique is a critique of what you call the Clinton, Biden, Harris, Schumer status quo. How would you describe that status quo, and what is your critique of it?
Sure. So I think there's been some pretty dramatic leftward moves in the Democratic Party since Barack Obama's second term. And this has not been the left, quote unquote, Bernie Sanders, his people taking the party over. It's been establishment stewardship, but they've shifted on a lot of different things. Some of them minor, some of them big. I think a notable one that I read about in the piece is education policy, where without really a huge rancorous debate about it, ideas about performance pay for teachers, ideas about supporting high-performing charter schools that, the Obama White House had championed, and it was controversial at the time inside the party, just sort of went in the other direction. And then we had, a lot of discussion about this around COVID and school closures and different things there. But, Democrats had an identity as a party of reform of the public sector that has sort of gone away in that regard. Democrats have also, shifted a lot on immigration over the past 10 to 15 years, right? There's been all this stuff about asylum that came up during the Biden presidency just wasn't really an issue that people were thinking that much about during the Obama presidency. There was this kind of very specific focus on trying to get a path to citizenship for people who've been here for a long time. New things came up. Democrats have, gone through a number of cycles around crime and criminal justice reform since that time, but have been sort of seen in some circles as very soft on crime. I think left-wing Democrats have started to see that this is a problem. Everyone has sort of walked back defunding police, things like that since then. But there's been this kind of and then on economic policy, there's been a shift. Again, it was a shift in the Biden administration to these kind of much more Elizabeth Warren-like positions about the role of business, its relationship to the state. It used to be kind of a view that, Democrats were a party that was going to make rich people pay higher taxes. And that was going to be a non-starter for a lot of rich people in the country. But for people who could stand that, who could say, you know what, I'm going to pay more under the Democrats, I'm going to contribute to the common will, I'm going to help the poor, whatever, I'm still going to be treated like respectfully, as if business is a laudable thing to do with your career. And there's been shifts on both sides of that, a much more contentious relationship between the Democratic Party and the technology industry, but really the Democratic Party and the business world writ large.
So I take your point that the party has definitely shifted leftward on a number of issues, and I can just speak from experience because oftentimes when this gets debated, I can remember when I was in the White House around the Obama campaign, and we did Race to the Top, and we talked about teacher pay, and we talked about immigration in the context of we're a nation of immigrants, but we're also a nation of laws, and now people on the right just like play back Obama clips from 2008 where he's talking about border security. So I get that. How do we know people's negative view of the Democratic Party and the Democratic Party's losing some elections, some big ones, is due primarily to specific issue positions and not a number of other factors? General perception of elitism, corruption, weakness, however you define it, right? There's a whole bunch of different potential factors in these losses.
I think all this stuff is in the mix, obviously, and to an extent it connects to people. Searchlight Institute did a really interesting series of polls about corruption. People are very concerned about corruption. They think the political establishment is very corrupt. But they asked, do you consider X, Y, and Z thing corrupt? And, it was like trading on insider stock information, definitely corrupt. But people also said it was corrupt when politicians do things to sort of curry favor with social elites that aren't what the public wants, right? So that's like a very expansive view of corruption, where if you're afraid of getting canceled or something, so you're doing this, that could be corrupt in some people's eyes. You also might see that as weak. I don't think you want to be weak. I think, again, to the point of why presidential campaigns matter, moderate members of Congress are almost all people who are representing districts that Donald Trump won. I think those people are, in some ways, the Democrats' MVPs. But they are not MVPs when it comes to big partisan controversies, because that's not how you hold down a red house seat. You kind of duck those fights. And that does look weak to people who are in the base, and that's not what they want, right? In a presidential campaign, you can do what Donald Trump did on Medicare and Social Security. You can do what President Obama did on education issues, which is you can reposition to the center on select things while also being a strong voice for your party and its side on certain kinds of key issues. But, I do think that issues matter to people. It's not a coincidence that in 2012, Democrats had all these great ads lambasting Mitt Romney's Medicare plan. And then Donald Trump comes along and he's like, I'm not going to do that Medicare plan, right? Yeah. Now, 90% of the people who voted for Obama in 2012 vote for Hillary in 2016. But the people who were persuaded by those Medicare ads, now they got a Republican who's like, you know what? I'm not going to do that. So, you go around the country, right? Not that many people are swing voters. It's a small population. But I think there are people there, right, who are looking at, these questions about who should play on women's sports teams. And they really do care about that issue. And it upsets them that Democrats have the position that they don't agree with. And that's a different, that was not an issue that we talked about really 10, 15 years ago. But I remember in 2008 when that campaign was happening and Obama and all Democrats everywhere said that marriage is between a man and a woman. And that's not what I believed. And I know lots of the younger people who worked on those campaigns, that's not what they believed. I don't know what the principals themselves believed privately, but I think everyone kind of understood at that point in time that it was going to be the job of someone else to persuade the voters that our more forward-thinking progressive view was correct, and that the politicians were going to, try to get to yes with the electorate, that it was tough enough to be opposing these constitutional amendments and other kinds of things that would have completely closed the door on equality. And so some of what's happened is, I think, just a less of a pragmatic spirit, that Trump is so terrible. It makes people feel like, well, if he can get away with so much, we should be able to get away with undisciplined behavior. But that's just, that's not really how it works. It's if he's really terrible, we need to take this really seriously.
Pod Save America is brought to you by Helix. Boy, is sleep important.
It's so important.
The older you get, the more you realize the wisdom of that.
That's right.
Helix knows how to help there.
Yeah.
Because they have the most comfortable, best mattresses.
I love my Helix mattress. Don Lux.
Don Lux.
It's great.
How do you know which mattress is right for you? Take the Helix Sleep Quiz and it will match you with the perfect mattress based on your personal preferences and sleep needs. They have over 20 mattress models so you can find the perfect model for you. Helix delivers your mattress right to your door with free shipping in the US. The Happy with Helix guarantee offers a risk-free, customer-first experience designed to ensure you're completely satisfied with your new mattress so you can rest easy with seamless returns and exchanges. Plus, Helix offers a 120-night sleep trial and limited lifetime warranty. Emily's parents live in Maine. We were just there for a week, and they needed to upgrade their mattresses because they were very old in their house, and so got some Helix mattresses. And boy, did everyone sleep well. We were just the kids, us.
Great.
We were so happy with the Helix mattresses, and Helix was just they were great. They just shipped them right there out of the box. Boom, mattresses. Go to helixsleep.com/crooked for 27% off site-wide. This offer is exclusive to our listeners. That's helixsleep.com/crooked for 27% off site-wide. helixsleep.com/crooked.
Pod Save America is brought to you by Acorns. Today's budget is what it is, but tomorrow, that's up to you. Acorns is designed to help you effortlessly grow your savings, and their potential screen shows you exactly what your money can do over time. Acorns is easy. You can sign up in minutes and start automatically investing your spare money, even if all you've got is spare change. Acorn grows with you. Whether you're just starting out or thinking about settling down, Acorn supports your big and small goals across every life stage. The Acorns potential screen shows you the power of compounding and how your money could grow over time. Plus, you can quickly adjust how much you're investing every day, week, or month to make sure you're building towards your goals. Acorn is all in one. No more finance apps cluttering up your phone. With Acorns, you can invest, save, and give your money a chance to grow in one trusted place. I was over at a friend's house having dinner with the family, and their son had his bar mitzvah, and he was like, I want to learn. He's wanted to learn how to invest. He's thinking about how to do that, and he was learning about how the compound interest would really help him if he starts at such a young age.
Yeah, I bet.
So I think it's gonna be great.
Really, guys.
But the point is, dear listener, you're getting beat by a 13-year-old.
Don't let yourself get beat by that. By a 13-year-old.
Sign up now, and Acorns will boost your new account with a $5 bonus investment. Joining over
Interesting
14 million
ad they
all-time
chose to run
customers
there.
who have already saved and invested over $27 billion with Acorns. Head to acorns.com/crooked or download the Acorns app to get started.
Paid non-client endorsement compensation provides incentive to positively promote Acorns. Tier 2 compensation provided. Potential subject to various factors such as customers' accounts, age, and investment settings. Does not include Acorns fees. Results do not predict or represent the performance of any Acorns portfolio. Investment results will vary. Investing involved risk. Acorns Advisors LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. View important disclosures at acorns.com/crooked. It is true that a majority of voters, especially voters in the states we need to win, routinely tell pollsters, including especially in the most recent New York Times polls, that the Democratic Party is too far left. And more people think, at least in the New York Times poll, more people think the Democratic Party is too far left than they think the Republican Party is too far right.
Not great.
Not great. Though, importantly, in all 6 of the states where they polled, the 6 Senate states that are pickup opportunities for Democrats, voters were less likely to describe the Democratic candidate as too far left than they were the Democratic Party itself. Do you attribute that to specific moderate positions taken by Mary Peltola, Josh Turek, Sherrod Brown, Roy Cooper, James Tallarico? Because, and I don't know about all of their positions.
I think when the average voter talks about the Democratic Party being too far left, I really do think they're just thinking of transports, unironically. I think they're just like, I think that just comes to mind, like, oh yeah, too far left, and that's it.
Yeah, but
everything,
ironically,
but
probably.
it doesn't seem like, at least, I know enough, like Sherrod's been around long enough. It doesn't seem like they have moderated on any of the issues where you might think the Democrats need to moderate on.
Well, it's a little of both, right? So Turek and Peltola have both sort of said that they want to support their state's oil and gas industries, which would be a very hot take in National Democratic Party politics. I think it's kind of a no-brainer in Alaska and Texas. And, that's good. We're just all kind of getting to a place of pragmatism and stuff like that. Roy Cooper, he's been in statewide office in North Carolina for a long, long, long time, has a distinctive relationship with the voters there. I think they see him as moderate, at least, because he's held office for a long time. There's this Republican supermajority in the legislature, so we don't really know what it is he would have done if he was empowered. Josh Turek in Iowa, he really had a hard-fought primary. Elizabeth Warren and others were supporting his opponent. He held and represented an Obama to Trump, switching district in the state legislature there. I don't know anything about Iowa. I've never been there. I don't like to represent myself as an expert, but it did seem like it was the more moderate choice in a contested primary. Sherrod Brown is, I think, the interesting one. I mean, I'm old enough to remember in 2006 when he was like this progressive dream candidate who'd emerged, and like that was a different era in Ohio. Right? Like everything was very different back then. He, in Obama's first term, he really clashed with the White House over some energy stuff related to the steel industry, things like that. In Biden's term, he was much more kind of a good soldier, got along with everybody, maybe not the best idea in a state that Trump won by 6 points. So I don't know, exactly where he's going to come down there. Some of it, though, is that, when you have a specific individual candidate, they can try to communicate who they are rather than being like a caricature, right? And so that is always the power of individual candidates, particularly individual candidates who, unlike late stage Joe Biden, can actually speak and engage with people.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, because I do think that the focus on positions and issue positions, which I do think voters care about, I would not dismiss that, but it is one of many factors, because a lot of the people you just talked about, it seems like they have an image of being more moderate, partly because of vibes that they put off, because of their bio, because of who they are, how they communicate. I mean, Roy Cooper's an interesting one too, because he ran for governor and won that race, partly the bathroom bill in North Carolina at the time. Now we're talking about trans issues around sports teams and gender affirming care, but back then it was a bathroom bill, and he was able to win in 2016. Yeah. It's a pretty tough year, despite being very vocal on that issue at the time. And you do wonder then, is the reason that Roy Cooper's doing so well and people think he's more moderate is it other factors aside from the actual positions he's taken?
Well, I think that there's a both and to this, right? So, Governor Cooper was always sort of positioned himself as a champion of economic growth in North Carolina and of sort of modernization and bringing business in. There's this whole kind of, New South tradition that Bill Clinton was part of, that he's part of, that Amy Beshear is part of. The bathroom bill controversy at the time that was raging, right? It was related to that. Part of the case he was making was, this is going to hurt us in our convention business. It's going to hurt us in attracting financial services jobs from New York, things like that. And this is where, there's issue positions, there's vibes, there's communications, and it sort of comes together, because if you can explain what you're doing in a way that connects to things that your constituents care about, that's much better than if you're kind of duck and cover all the time, right? Like, can you engage? Can you convey some kind of empathy and complexity around these issues? People don't like to be, everybody votes for politicians who they agree with about some stuff and disagree with about other stuff. If they feel like, well, this is a political party that wants to cancel me over our disagreements, versus that can respect the idea of differences of opinion, but thinks that all things considered, my healthcare plan is really important, right? Those are not different issue positions, but it's a little bit more than just vibes. I think we saw, but before Greg Plattner exited the race under a cloud of scandal, we were putting to the test the idea that a sort of a pure vibes candidacy could sort of transform the demographic structure of the electorate. And I think the polls were saying that wasn't working, that he was going to beat Susan Collins until scandals took him down. But this is a state that Kamala won. It's a state that Biden won. It's a state that Hillary won. He was winning based on educated people in coastal towns, kind of same old, because his issue positions were actually very, very standard, even though he had this really interesting persona. I think we both met. He was very charismatic in person, like a cool guy, then maybe not so cool. But, ultimately, if you're going to persuade people who haven't been voting for you to vote for you, you've got to give them something, right? Some reason to think that you're different.
And this is the case with so many of these races, is that there's so many different variables that it's hard to pin something down, because it's like, I realize that the left wants to believe that Graham Plattner and his race could have won him a bunch of non-college educated white voters and sort of pick that lock that Democrats have been trying to pick for the last 20 years. I never really thought that was the case, but I did think that his charisma was a big factor there. I saw you write a couple times that one of the reasons he might have been seen as not as left as the Democratic Party as a whole is because of his position on guns.
Yeah.
But then I was like, did that many people in Maine really did they all know what his position on guns was? Because he didn't talk about it a lot. It wasn't like a big part of his campaign. And I wonder if his style and charisma may have made up for some of the in his case, both the scandals early on and the further left issue positions like Medicare for All, abolish ICE, and his position on Israel. I wonder if his persona helped with his perception.
Well, I guess part of the point I was trying to make in my 2028 piece is that the things that the establishment and the kind of more progressive people have been arguing about are actually mostly not the issues that it seems like swing voters disagree with Democrats about, right? So on Israel, the mass public has become quite skeptical of the U.S.-Israel relationship. Obviously, that's a very fraught issue, and there's always somebody who wants you to go further, no matter what position you take. But there's big room in the public eye for revisiting where Democrats have been on that. Medicare for All, we've been talking about for 10 years. Polling on that is all over the map, depending on what you ask. But people have pretty progressive ideas about healthcare. The voters believe that if people get sick, they should be able to see the doctor. And so, you can kind of go places on that. At the same time, something I wrote about is kind of racial targeting of programs is quite unpopular with white people in particular who, want programs to benefit them rather than other people, which is pretty easy to understand. Not really something the left and the establishment disagree about. Again, interestingly, Obama in 2008 on the campaign trail, made some real waves by suggesting that he wanted to revisit some of that and question, do his daughters need special advantage over low-income white kids, right? That'd be a very hot take to put forward. It was a hot take when he did it. Obviously, he had some personal qualities that gave him a little bit more space on those kind of things. But those are statements that make people think, maybe I need to give a new look to somebody who's out there. And I think you're right. Plattner didn't really talk much about the guns thing. We don't know how that would have gone as a general election, right? But, different things pop at different kinds of times. But I do think that successful politicians usually put something on the table to make you think, oh, this guy's different. Like, that's fresh. That's new. And
The
charisma
fact
is like...
that Obama had to do the fucking beer summit is gotta be one of the most retarded things I've ever learned about in my life.
Wait, what do you mean by that?
I think that it's genuinely giga retarded that Obama had to go and basically sweep for cops/white people's feelings because he said that he felt like the cops didn't do a very good job and they acted stupidly. Not that cops are stupid, but they just acted stupidly in arresting that guy.
I didn't read that situation like him feeling like he had to appease people. I thought it was more the idea that
in his book he says that.
What did he say specifically? Oh, why don't we have a fucking book reader here? My bad. Okay, I'm just going by the movie.
What movie?
It was a joke. Book readers versus...
So in his book, he basically kind of talks about how he feels like pretty much what I said, like he had to kind of moderate his actual opinion and go on live and do something that he didn't actually felt like he wanted to or needed to.
I'd be interested in reading exactly how he phrases it because, obviously, the cops were in the wrong there. But my reading as a public person, as not a politician or whatever, was that the beer summit was overall a good thing. It showed that there was a stupid situation that cropped up. It was highly racially charged. But if people just calm the fuck down and just have a conversation with each other and see each other as human beings, that there's a lot of shit that we could get over. And that's how I read that publicly. Maybe personally, he was well, fuck this shit. But I thought it was a good move.
Where it was.
I thought it was a good move publicly.
I think it was publicly a good move. I think the issue is that he had to do it. I think it's retarded that he has to do it.
Well,
but
sure.
But it still matters what the content is. Because if what we see is oh, that's different, that's an idea I've never heard before, and I hate it, that's not good, right? You don't want to get attention for terrible ideas that everyone hates.
The empathy point you made earlier, and I wonder if you read Brian Beutler's piece today, where he sort of wrote about this as well, is the need to show empathy, or a Democratic politician to show empathy can kind of sort of bridge some of these divides and these disagreements between factions in the party. The Obama thing made me think. So yeah, he would go out and talk about maybe what we really need is class-based affirmative action and not just race-based affirmative action. And then he would also make the point that when people say, okay, well then race doesn't matter, it's all about class, he would say, well, no, I'm biracial, but when I hail a cab and the cab keeps going, I'm black to that cab.
Absolutely.
Driver, and I do wonder if it is a question of Democrats, or a lot of the Democratic candidates we've seen, not quite having the skills to explain their positioning and also explain it in a way where people who may be against the position they take can at least understand where they're coming from, and because the politician showed some empathy for their position as well as the position of the people that that politician landed on, their same beliefs.
Yeah, and I think this is this is where I think the substance of the positions and the communications methods sort of come together, right? And so, both Biden and Harris and Clinton, for all sort of different reasons, but none of them were really kind of sit down and gab at length kind of politicians who made you feel like they could explain in sort of some level of nuance what it was they really thought about these different kinds of issues. And that hurts you, right? Because this is a big, diverse country. You end up with two political parties, two candidates down there. You're trying to assemble a somewhat messy coalition. And there's going to have to be some fuzzing of these issues. There's going to have to be some outreach to the middle, but you've got to get people on the left on board. Look at this primary happening in Michigan, right? It's very bitter. Mm-hmm. Somebody's going to win. Somebody's going to lose. They're going to need to get the people who voted for the other person to come vote for them, which is going to mean whoever wins that is going to have to redescribe whatever it is they were saying about Israel or whatever else in a way that is at least acceptable to the other person's voters. And that's hard, right? That's the real art of politics. I, as a journalist, I observe that this occurs and that the good politicians do it. But I do feel like there has been I remember when Harris was campaigning with Liz Cheney, and there was a lot of people from the left were like, this is terrible. How can you work with Liz Cheney? And then conversely, Harris wasn't moving toward Liz Cheney's positions
at all,
on any kind of issues. Right.
Yeah.
And so I think that wound up being a real kind of dead zone version of trying to seem more moderate, but not actually making anybody like her better, but raising these different kinds of questions. And it was just challenging, I think, for her to convey to people exactly what she was trying to say about this. Like, why should somebody who was more conservative than Kamala Harris vote for her anyway? Because that's clearly what that was meant to convey, right? Like, that was the purpose of them being up on stage. But it's like, it's a hard argument to make. I mean, I don't have a big difficulty making the case to say, like, Trump, like, he's corrupt, January 6th. But, like, also, I just don't agree with him. Like, he's cutting healthcare, he's doing tax cuts for the rich. Like, these aren't things that I agree with. But she wanted to make a pitch to people like my father-in-law, who's, like, pretty conservative, but also really doesn't like Trump. You know, and I think he voted for Harris at the end of the day, and then he votes for Greg Abbott down ballot. But there's all these people out there who are conflicted, and you do have to come up with some way to build a bridge to them that also, you know, conveys to progressives that, like, if Democrats win the election, progressive public policy is going to happen.
So you're running the presidential campaign.
It's just bullshit. Why would you try? There's no way that you can win a national level race trying to appeal to people who are all like hyper fixed in one part of the country that are like more extreme. And that's not even like a bad thing. Like, I would expect people that live in New York City or like LA, I would expect these people to have more extreme politics. Like, they live in a super bluer area. It makes sense. But they can't then expect the national level politicians to adopt their personal perspectives, because it's just not realistic. You're never going to win any elections that way.
Your dream Democrat who's willing to emphasize moderation.
Yeah.
What moderate stances are you telling them to emphasize where the Democratic Party's position is most out of step with even its own voters on high salience issues, right? Which are issues voters rate as most important to them, or just issues that are going to come up in the campaign. I mean, we just talked about sort of affirmative action. The Supreme Court has now ruled on using race as a factor in college admissions. Doesn't seem like that is going to be a hot button issue in 2028, and so you could argue that just purely on a political level, moderating on that in a sort of a loud way,
probably out. Yeah.
And also can feel a little inauthentic and opportunistic.
Absolutely.
You know. So what do you think are the big ones?
So, you know, I think there's like a few different buckets here. But immigration is a big one, right? Because there's a big backlash against what ICE has been doing. All Democrats are going to give voice to that, et cetera, et cetera. But this continues to be one of Donald Trump's strong issue areas. And you see that in polling of even Democrats, there's real concern about reopening sort of the gates to people seeking asylum. Now, this is not where like I am at personally. I'm like quite left on immigration, but I can see the numbers here, right? Yeah. And you need to convey to people both that there's going to be a meaningful recalibration from what Trump is doing, but also that like we have heard what people were saying during the Biden administration and are not going to rerun that experience. I think that's like a big one. I think some of these trans issues are not that salient with the public, but they get brought up a lot by Republicans. You have to be prepared to answer questions about them. And I think you have to be prepared to go into some level of nuance because you want to convey like real empathy, real support for people's rights, but also to understand, I think that like there is a set of sex segregated spaces where most Americans want, you know, biology is defined by chromosomes to be the controlling factor there. I think you have to at least throw a bone to the median voter on this kind of topic when you're addressing it. And then I think there's this set of things, education is, I think, the most prominent of them. But can you show people that Democrats understand that, like, voters support the social safety net, voters support public services, voters support taxing the wealthy, but also voters, like, want to see change and reform in the state, in the government. That when DOGE was first rolled out, people were really excited about it. Right. And it all went to shit. But the idea of like, I am willing to take on the stakeholders inside the bureaucracy and do something good, like that means a lot to people in terms of like, what are their doubts about Democratic Party governance? You know, when people live in the Midwest and they think about California or New York, right, they think maybe a nice place to live if you're like incredibly wealthy, but they don't think what they've really got there is like an incredible balance of taxes and quality public services. Right? It's like the weather is amazing in California. The culture and nightlife in New York is fantastic. But people look at those higher taxes and they're like, well, like, what are you getting for that money? Right? And people who live in those states, like that, you're in California, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like California's amazing, but none of the Californians are like the thing that is amazing about California is that the high levels of taxes that I pay is like really paying off in my day-to-day life. Right. And like we know that between ourselves. And that is something that Bill Clinton and Barack Obama, I think, both tried to give voice to, even as they.
There's no way to see like your overall level of pollutions. Like I don't know if like all these little things are adding up to as much as this.
Tried to give healthcare, EITC, other
video game,
other things to help the needy.
Pod Save America is brought to you by Our Place. Our Place makes beautiful, high-performance kitchenware designed to make home cooking simpler and more enjoyable. Everything is designed to be multifunctional, so you're not crowding your kitchen with pans and appliances that can only perform one task.
Damn.
Since day one, Our Place's cookware has been made without forever chemicals, and it's always third-party tested to meet global safety standards. The Wonder Oven Pro is an 8-in-1 air fryer toaster oven that preheats 60% faster than a traditional oven and cooks up to 40% faster, so meals actually happen.
Fucking air fryers.
What's wrong with an air fryer?
Oh my god.
You're a hater,
it's
bro.
Just a fucking
You're just
oven,
a hater.
man.
You're a hater.
Quicker. It air fries, roasts, bakes, toasts, reheats, proofs, dehydrates, and broils all in one compact footprint, and every cooking surface is made without forever chemicals. It's especially great for quick meals,
An air fryer is
reheating
just a
leftovers,
convection oven, you
crisping
retards.
things up, or nights when you don't want to turn on the full oven.
I'm getting one of these Wonder Pro. I'm getting one of these Wonder Oven Pros. It's on the way.
Wow.
I'm gonna use it because I need an air fryer.
Awesome.
I don't have an air fryer. I have just a toaster oven.
Oh.
I just have a toaster oven like an idiot.
See? Just you wait.
Just like a dunce.
That guy's hyped as
like
fuck
a dummy.
now.
It's Wonder Oven Pro. I think you can make potatoes in it. I've
sure
seen on the
can.
internet potatoes
How about that?
in the air fryer.
Baked?
Did you know that?
Crisped
Baked.
up.
You're gonna make some fries?
Crisp them up. You know?
Upgrade your
I hate
kitchen
this
with Our
fucking
Place
Pod Save
today.
America
Visit
guy.
You're a hater, bro.
FromOurPlace.com/crooked and use code
All you
crooked
do
for
is
10%
hate.
off site wide.
And every time I have to listen to Obama talk about his retarded ass, it pisses me off during his book.
You mean him talking about
and use
Obama?
code crooked for 10% off
No,
site
the
wide.
other way.
With a 100-day
Sometimes
trial,
Obama
you can
talks
try
about
it
him.
completely
Nah.
risk-free.
Pod Save America is brought to you by ZipRecruiter. It would be nice if there was a way to offload some of the, daily tasks that can be a bit boring sometimes. And so I'm always looking for ways to do that. And we all have time-saving hacks for everyday life. But if you're a business owner, how can you save time hiring? With ZipRecruiter.
There you go.
ZipRecruiter has new powerful matching technology that quickly lets you see the most interested qualified candidates first. So you can save time by
So
meeting the
Steve
right
hires
people
editors.
faster. Candidates can also tell you in their own words why they're interested in your job. No wonder ZipRecruiter is the #1 rated hiring site based on G2. We've used ZipRecruiter here at Crooked to hire people, and
See?
it's made a huge
How do you think
difference.
I found
It
Mr.
simplifies the
Mooten
process, helps
on
you find great
ZipRecruiter?
people, and everything about having a company is about having the right people. Everything else is secondary to that. You're surrounded by a bunch of and morons. You're not gonna have a great day at work.
No, you're not.
I don't care how good your product is. You make
You're not
great.
gonna have a good product,
No,
though.
you're not. Not for long.
Nope.
Not with these morons.
Go get yourself some ZipRecruiter.
You got to get some ZipRecruiter to fix up your widgets. And Anyway, ZipRecruiter. Save time and meet great candidates sooner. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a qualified
Go to
candidate
production
within
and
the first day.
pollution
Try it for
tab,
free at
and then hit global
ZipRecruiter.com/crooked.
statistics
That's ZipRecruiter.com/crooked. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
Pollution.
Part of the
Recruiter.
And then hit global statistics. Where's global statistics? Am I blind?
challenge we're landing on
the
here
right.
is
Where?
On the right hand side
Fuck. Good.
of your
Good
cursor.
one. Good one. Good one. Good one.
that nuance and sort of thoughtful explanations don't. First of all, people aren't as good at giving them.
Sure.
And so there's a skill level with politicians that we talked about. And even if you are skilled, there's just the ability to get that message out, right? And so people see ICE abuses, and you've got people even
Pollution's
like
going
Bill
down.
Kristol
Hell
now,
yeah.
every time there's an ICE story is tweeting abolish ICE, right? And I get it because you feel this absolute fury and frustration for what they're doing. And look, I could make an argument that yes, ICE is a relatively new organization, and that we could put immigration enforcement back at some parts of it at DHS and DOJ, and we could do the bureaucratic part and everything. And I am someone who's comfortable saying yes, we still need immigration enforcement, obviously. But if you just say abolish ICE, of course. Abolish immigration and custom enforcement makes a lot of people think, oh, well, then you don't want immigration enforcement anymore. When the reality is, like, if I was a Democratic president, I'd go and I was heading into office after this. Yeah, I would fire most of the people in ICE because I think they've hired a bunch of unqualified psychopaths. I would still want immigration enforcement somehow, but it takes a while to explain all of that, And,
Absolutely.
And I just wonder how that plays out in a Democratic presidential primary.
Yeah, I mean, on the one hand, yes, nuance is hard. On the other hand, I don't think it's actually.
ICE
that
got more
hard
money
to
than the
say.
fucking Marines this year.
That's an insane amount. I don't think people realize how ungodly the amount of money. I'm curious where it's all going. It's just an insane amount of money.
We need to totally revamp how ICE works, or even abolish it, whatever. But we need a secure border. James Tallarico had this line, and he's like, "We've got to have like a door with a beautiful welcome mat and also a lock, right?" And that's like a good, metaphor.
Did you see that? That was probably one of the worst. If I was to ever jail Elon Musk, because somehow I'm the god emperor of the country, it would be for that tweet. Do you know what I'm talking about? I believe it was from the America account, his stupid fucking PAC one or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And he tweeted out, they tweeted out a tweet. It was like, this is what James Tallarico wants. And the quote was him saying, like, America should be a country that has a big, beautiful welcome mat for all illegal immigrants or something like that. And then it cuts off right there. But
And
the
he
next
cut it
thing he
off?
said, and the next thing he says is obviously like with a secure door or something to let people in or something like that, right? Oh, it's still up. That's an insanely egregious cut.
Our southern border should be like our front porch. There should be a giant welcome mat out front. Our southern border should.
That's it.
Yeah, that's like
crazy.
that
That's
should be
criminal.
litigation worthy or something, or like, that's crazy to me. That's insane, bro.
Right. So he's smart, but it's not impossible to come up with these kind of formulas. What I actually think is a little bit harder, for people who are down ballot, and maybe even for presidential candidates, is navigating the kind of interest group minefield. Where there's a lot of stakeholders who have very specific things that they want you to say. And politicians get these kind of memos from their staffs, that are like, don't say this, do say that, don't say this, do say that, right? And they're really nervous, right? They're trying to navigate in this really precise way. Like, I don't want to lose this endorsement. I don't want to, get scored down on something else like this. And it makes it hard for them to talk like people. Like, we all know Democrats in our lives who are much more nuanced, I think, than the members of Congress who we see on our televisions. And it's because they're not under the same kind of pressure and the same kind of scrutiny to sort of talk in like a relaxed, somewhat normal way about things. But it takes courage. I mean, this is why, again, I look to presidential campaigns more to change things, because the reality facing anyone who wants to run for president is you're probably going to lose, right? Like, it's hard. It's hard to win. And I think a lot of the best presidential candidates are people who started off as real underdogs, right? Again, that's something that Trump and Obama have in common, right? It took a certain amount of courage to even launch those campaigns and to work on them and to do it. The last three times Democrats have kind of had this sort of like overdog nominee who was like handed down by the weight of the past. And that's not great, because people who are taking that path, their incentive is toward being cautious all the time.
Yes.
So then you come across as a really cautious, really calculating person, rather than as somebody who was like, I'm going to take my shot, and I'm going to speak from the heart. And no politician is ever like truly authentic, truly speaking from the heart. But there is a difference between someone who's like, I'm going to go for it, and someone who's like, well, this is coming my way, so I'm going to not fuck it up.
At one point, you write that a center-left candidate who is, quote, charismatic and skilled at contemporary social media can talk above the groups directly to voters. Totally agree. But you mentioned Obama is sort of coming up as an underdog and getting attention, and everyone else is sort of
This guy was a speechwriter for Obama.
How many
You
Democratic
worked for
politicians
Obama?
can you name in the last
By the
decade
way.
who've been able to command national attention with a message of disciplined moderation?
Well, no, most of the people who've come up and have commanded attention have been very left-wing, and I think that's a big part of the reason why the whole discourse keeps getting sort of dragged to the left.
Not the discourse.
Younger people are just more left-wing. And particularly within the Democratic Party. So you have your AOCs, you have your Mamdanis, and these are the people who've shown real flair for communication skills. I think you have also seen from both of them, impulses toward AOC had this whole bit about like how we need to deregulate sunscreen.
The bit,
essentially, right? And Mamdani has some like small business kind of thing and stuff that he's doing that impresses people. So this stuff can work for different kinds of politicians with different kinds of ethoses. Also, branding, I think, actually is not what matters most. Obama in 2008, I think, was understood as the progressive sort of choice in that primary, primarily because of Iraq, which was really, really important to people at that time. So you look back and you say, well, he was actually the one who was like taking on teachers unions. He was the one who actually had more support from sort of like Wall Street and finance. He was the preferred candidate of a lot of the red state members of Congress at that time. He tacked to the center on affirmative action, all these other kinds of things. But at the time, like, progressives really liked him because he was the one who said, like, this war is really fucked up. And, that is the advantage of taking a position that is vindicated by time. It's like always good to have like good judgment on the substance of questions. And so I think anyone, including people who are sort of understood today to be progressive, could also move to the center on these kind of issues that we've been talking about. Because when I talk to really left-wing people about like what are they fired up about, it's like not actually the things that the public has the biggest doubts for Democrats about. I think if you want to be a Medicare for all candidate, there's like real problems of program design that you sort of need to confront, but it's not a political problem in the way that the sense that you want to open the borders is. Abolish ICE, maybe not a slogan I would advise people to go with, but if you can convey the idea that abolishing ICE doesn't mean reopening to millions of new asylum seekers, like that could be totally fine. Maybe it's easier actually to moderate on aspects of immigration if you have this left-wing slogan rather than if you're coming coming at it backwards. Like, I'm not totally sure, how that needle needs to be threaded ultimately. I just think it's that you have to give voters some level of reassurance about their biggest doubts about Democrats, especially if, you're going to say, we're going to have a whole new approach to Israel. We're going to take on the vested interests in the healthcare system. Like, you're not going to pull that off while also alienating 60% of the population around cultural issues, right? Like, if you want to say we're going to have this populist anchor, then I think you just have to follow the logic of that in a compelling way and say, look, if you can agree with me
Who is this
that
guy? This is
healthcare
Matthew
should be a right
Iglesias,
rather than a privilege, I want you on my team.
So we like
I'm
him.
not going to
He
take away
tweets
your
a lot.
plastic straw.
You've seen him on Twitter,
right?
guaranteed.
Because we're focused on the healthcare thing
Has he
versus
retweeted
this sort of
you?
laundry list politics
I don't know.
where it's like,
If he has,
I
it's
got
probably
this for
been
the
bad.
healthcare, I got this for the childcare, I got this on the plastic straws, I've got this on the immigration, I got this on the asylum, this on criminal justice. Like, that's a hard way to do politics.
I am intrigued by your advice on candidates offering policy plans, which is don't do
Don't.
that.
Less.
Basically, less, right? So, you're asked, how do you get
Americans
to
are
universal healthcare?
retarded.
And you
They
say,
don't care about
it depends
policy.
on the composition of
They just care
Congress.
about vibes.
What are you going to do about the deficit? We need to tax rich people and cut wasteful spending, but then not a lot more detail. I mean, those answers certainly have the virtue of being true, right? Of course, this all depends on Congress and all kinds of other circumstances that you can't predict in the heat of a campaign. In a campaign, as the primary goes on with the imaginary candidate we're talking about here, is it possible to dodge questions and attacks from your opponents about having no plans? And it does seem like
Who's
that
gonna
was part
ask
of,
about plans?
Kamala Harris's vagueness was part of sort of the negative coverage she received.
That's crazy. That's a crazy statement to make. Kamala she had 3 specific policies she always spoke about. The idea that she was being vague on policy and that's why Americans didn't vote for her. Meanwhile, Donald Trump, I don't even know fucking anything what this guy fucking stood for policy-wise. Oh my God.
Yeah, so one thing is, with all this plan stuff, I'm trying to hold myself accountable a little bit because I was part of a wave of young at the time journalists who were really like, we got to see plans from these presidential candidates. And in retrospect, it's like, I wonder why we were so demanding of that, because that's
Nobody
not
gave a
how
fuck.
the government works, right? And we all know that. And so there was this faux sophistication coming from me and from some of my colleagues, but I mean, specifically from me as well, to be demanding all this detail from people. And I think
Wait, what
that
did
if
he
you
mean
can
by
give
that?
real answers that make sense, that both journalists and voters will understand, actually, that the micro details of tax policy are written by Congress and that the directionality of tax policy is like a numbers game.
Oh, that they don't need to give a
Right? Like, if we have
specific plan? I
tiny
guess.
majority, it's going to be hard to do very much. But if we have a big majority, we'll do a lot. And you try to say what kinds of things you want
What
to
does
do.
that mean?
That your goal is to come in and say, I want a 12% wealth tax and a 4% capital gains increase, blah, blah, blah. But your goal as a politician should be to say, I think that we should tax wealth more. Or I think we should tax whatever more. But not you don't have to go into the details, basically. You leave that to Congress or something. Maybe.
With Harris, right? I mean, she was in this weird position where she was the vice president for an incumbent administration. She was saying, I mean, I remember the first time when she was doing a little rally and she said, we're not going back. And I was like, yeah, I love that line, right? Because people really wanted both change, but also not Donald Trump.
Right.
And so she seemed to convey that. But then she got the question well, in what way is this change but not Donald Trump? And she didn't have a great answer. The great thing about being a Democrat running when a Republican
I
is
bet it was a
president
fucking
is that you
left-wing
don't
establishment
have that
around
same
that, too.
complicated question.
Right.
Right? It's like
Probably.
change that's not Donald Trump is just elected Democrat. Right? And then people do want to know something. What does that mean? What are you going to do? How are you going to govern differently? And I'm not saying that you should dodge that question. I mean, again, implicit in all of this is that rich people's taxes will go up. We're going to spend more money on subsidizing people's health care. We're going to, however we characterize what we're doing with ICE, it's like fewer people are going to be getting arrested in the interior of American cities. And then hopefully we can also say, but there's going to be a very secure border. We're going to keep fighting crime. We're going to make crime even lower than it is now. Something like that. But do we really need to have this 17-point plan like we had in the 2020 primary? Again, thinking about 2008, right? There were all these articles written about different candidates' healthcare plans, and Obama's plan didn't have a mandate. Right. And then he won the primary, and then he won the election, and then Congress did want to do the mandate, so the mandate happened. But then in the rule writing at HHS, it got watered down a little bit. Then there was unrelated implementation problems. But then actually it was going pretty well, and people liked Obamacare, but then the mandate got repealed, and then that maybe didn't. It's so tedious. And in retrospect, I mean, it sure must have been a huge pain in your ass, and it was in mine. Why did we spend so much time talking about this?
It was a huge pain in this guy's ass because he was a speechwriter for Obama, by the way. So he had to write his speeches, and then he had to deal with all the fallout related to what was going on in the country while he was writing his speeches, by the way.
here is that a reason that these policy plans are developed within the context of a primary is to be used as a political cudgel against your opponents because you're running in a primary, and the truth is most of you have.
Did you see that? Did you see that Mizkiv has been running ads on Asmongold's YouTube channel?
Oh yeah, he's base. You should do that for Hasan.
Yeah, do you think he's base? Do you think he's maybe lost it a little bit?
I think it's base.
Okay.
He's probably
the
lost
same
it, though.
general position on most of the same issues, and you want to differentiate yourself from the other primary candidates, and so you put out a plan that is bolder and more ambitious, which is either it's more expensive or probably harder to achieve than the other candidates, so that you can get on the debate stage and brag about that. And then, you know, I think it happened in an even more annoying way than the mandate in 2020, when I don't know how many of those debates ended up being just a conversation, not even a conversation, just a debate about Medicare for All and whose Medicare for All plan was the best, when then Joe Biden won and what did he, like, barely expanded anything?
Yeah, but I mean,
what a loser.
That is one where I think it is important to remind people.
Man, you really do get judged just based on whatever the fuck is going on. Talk about like the navigating that everything, the multiple fucking wars, the fallout from COVID, a Republican apparatus gone crazy, his son being investigated constantly, Donald Trump committing crimes and being prosecuted, to have to navigate all of that, and then for us to come out okay, and then just for everybody to fucking hate you, that's a tough life.
That, like, Joe Biden won that primary, right? After that huge shit show, that actually his message of, like, I'm just going to beat Donald Trump was, like, pretty compelling, actually, to Democratic primary voters. And he is not the single most, like, silver-tongued.
Just as, like, a heads up, Biden has never lost an election to Donald Trump. Don't ever forget that.
He's never lost an election.
Well, maybe. I don't know if that's true, but...
person in the universe, certainly not a master of vertical video or whatever else it is. So I do think that there's, like, ways for younger politicians to tap into some of what worked for him there, right? In terms of, like, keeping the focus on, like, what do Democrats really care about? And it's beating Trump. It's not just beating Trump, right? I think Democrats care a lot about healthcare. And I think Democrats are quite exercised about some of the cruelty of these immigration enforcement actions. And if you can hit those three buttons in some kind of way and convince people that you're going to take action on those issues, like, you could be, I think, conceivably pretty flexible on some other things if people believed that it was in pursuit of accomplishing these important goals.
The Biden thing is interesting, though, because I don't see a lot of evidence that Biden ended up winning that primary because he staked out more moderate positions than the rest of the field. And in many ways, he sort of chased them on some of these issues. He I think half raised his hand on decriminalizing the border on that one. And I think that he probably, what helped him is he had universal name ID. He was Barack Obama's vice president. And so he sort of had a bit of an Obama halo. And then there was no one else left by the time it was just he and Bernie, right? And
and he did really well in the head-to-head matchup polling against Trump, right? Yes. I mean, that, Democrats these days, read the New York Times when Nate Cohn tells them that, like, Elizabeth Warren is really unpopular and people like Joe Biden. Like, that made a big difference.
It did. Yeah, he just goes back to the challenge I keep thinking about is, like, Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, Kamala Harris, because she was just, installed last minute. These are all people that their name ID came from virtue of them being political dynasties or someone else's vice president and the incentives to become nationally known and get attention, I feel like point towards
the fact he's saying the only reason Biden is known is because he was fucking Obama's vice president is retarded. Guy had, like, the biggest fucking Senate run.
What? Oh, yeah. Although people don't really know our senators if you're not, like, on the media a lot. Being Biden.
It was helpful, for sure.
Yeah, it definitely helped a little, yeah.
They're more ambitious, geared towards conflict, sometimes hyperbolic. And I'm trying to picture the candidate who practices disciplined moderation, who sort of breaks out in these, like, I think about, like, an Andy Bashir, right? Like, amazing track record, electoral record in Kentucky, and still, like, a pretty mainstream Democrat, not, like, super conservative, but, like, I'm trying to picture Andy Bashir, and I've seen him give some interviews, I've interviewed him myself, like, really breaking out in a crowded primary with a message that's going to capture people. And that's
I just don't, people talk about these things. This is one of those things where I feel like we learn these lessons and then we forget them immediately, and then we have to learn them all over again. I don't know if I believe in this, like, the breakout from the primary. Like, I feel like this is a thing that happens over time as, like, positions you have are more salient to the public, and then they care about them and they agree with you. And that's just a thing that slow builds. Because I feel like, I remember in the last couple primaries, there were so many like breakout moments that completely get washed away with time. Like, I don't know if people remember, but like there was a time when a lot of people had thought, me included, that that Kamala had ended Biden in the
on the debate stage,
yeah, over the busing thing. Oof, that was a rough one too, because Biden was apparently against busing. It was a complicated old civil rights era thing or whatever, and Kamala was like, "You would have ended the busing for me, and I wouldn't have even been able to go to school as a child or whatever." And it was a rough. And she got a lot of props for it. And there were a few times. I know that when Pete won Iowa, that was like a huge fucking moment for Pete Buttigieg. I remember Bloomberg, with all of that money that he was dumping into polls in states that they hadn't quite gotten to yet. People were looking at him because it was like, oh my God, like this is going to be crazy when they start to get to these states that he's been investing, advertising it, and that all completely fell apart. Yeah, I think that the debates don't like, you can have your breakout moment and then they're reflected in the polls for a little bit, but not that much.
I feel like we have a lot of center-left candidates who may be electorally viable, but are not very good at getting attention. And then we have a lot of progressive candidates who are very good at getting attention and may not be electorally viable in swing states, you know?
So, right. So, you know, some of this, like, yes, right. Part of the deal with someone like Governor Beshear is that he's very disciplined, which I think is good for him winning elections in Kentucky, but it also denudes him of a certain amount of pizzazz, right? That could potentially be out there.
Don't
one of the
denude him.
things that I think was interesting about Plattner wasn't just like the positions that he took, but that he seemed very like anything might happen in this interview, right? And that kind of kinetic energy is
no one could have seen it coming
in experienced politicians,
Unpredictable.
because the way you kind of get to be almost a presidential contender is usually by being like quite controlled, you know, and like calm, and you climb the state party ladder, and you make the right kind of people like you. And then suddenly you find yourself in a crowded presidential primary field, and like the challenge is to break through. And it's like a totally different kind of challenge, right? And I think somebody like Ruben Gallego, who has, through many twists and turns in his career, found himself as kind of like a moderate swing state senator, but just a couple of years ago was like the progressive challenger to Kristen Sinema, and before that was like the young guy in the state legislature who was trying to muscle Ed Pastor out of a House seat, right? And he has a little bit more of the looseness that kind of gets you attention, but is unusual in all kinds of politicians. We're seeing it more with left-wing politicians because they've been challenging incumbents, right? Only like a slightly crazy person runs against an entrenched House incumbent. Most of the people who do that lose, but a couple of them win. And then you're AOC, right? Because you took on this sort of suicide run primary. You don't see as many people like that in the moderate lane, but I think it's possible, right? Because it's about trying to be interesting and like trying to break through. And it is also about having the right issue positions. You know, I mean, so many people who care about electoral pragmatism, I think, really like Josh Shapiro, right? Because he's doing incredibly well in the critical swing state. And I think that's really important. It's also true that, you know, when he like speaks from the heart in a way that is moderate and compelling and makes you think like, okay, like this guy's for real, he tends to be talking about the Israel issue in a way that like is just public opinion is not on his side. You know, and like that's a tough one. Like you can't win by being moderate on something where everything's going the other way. Now that being said, like he has done some stuff in the state that is heterodox on energy. He's done stuff in the state that is heterodox on education. I think maybe if he talked more about those things, that delivers the same kind of electoral pragmatism, but also actually connects with things that Democrats themselves have mixed feelings about. You know, about like how are these systems operating? Are we shaking them up? Are we governing well in our blue states? These kinds of things. But there's no getting around the fact that politics is hard.
Pod Save America is brought to you by Sundays. Is your dog a picky eater? It's surprisingly stressful. You wish they could tell you the problem.
How many fucking ads do
Maybe
they
if they could, your dog would say they know the difference between processed brown
They don't write for
pellets
Obama
and
no
real
more.
food. I think my dog would say that. Sundays starts with 80% plus all natural meats and then adds superfoods like kale, ginger, and blueberries. No fillers, no nutritional blends, no chemicals, just simple, complete nutrition. And Sundays just launched a brand new fish recipe. It's made with 80% whole and minced fish, including eco-friendly invasive carp sourced from American rivers for a naturally rich flavor. In fact, did you know that many dogs naturally prefer fish flavors?
What?
You ever had a clementine, a mandarin orange?
Oh, yeah.
They're either the best fruit or the fucking, like, dog shit.
As in there are good ones and bad ones?
As in there's great ones and shitty ones.
Oh. Okay. Cool story, bro.
Thank you.
So Sunday's fish recipe is especially great for picky eaters.
And they're getting those damn carp out of the water.
Get the carp out. Invasive carp,
Hell yeah.
sourced from our own rivers. Plus, it's packed
with... what these carps do? They're crazy.
Oh, I know. This is an issue in Barack Obama's Senate office back in 2005 and 6.
Whoa, Barack Obama!
For Obama!
Plus, it's packed with omega-3 fatty acids that help support healthy skin, shiny coats, joints, and brain function. It's complete and balanced nutrition for all life stages. Leo loves Sundays for Dogs. We just we took him to Maine, and so it was very easy to travel with Sundays for Dogs. Just pour it in the bowl, and then he ran right to the bowl and was very excited, as he always is, because he's a picky eater. Make the switch to Sundays. Go right now to sundaysfordogs.com/crooked and get 50% off your first order, or you can use code crooked at checkout. That's 50% off your first order at sundaysfordogs.com/crooked. sundaysfordogs.com/crooked, or use code crooked at checkout. Josh Shapiro is another one where it's the center left theory is there's often a lot of this candidate is so great on paper, and look at their electoral track record, and Josh Shapiro is going to have a fantastic story to tell about that in a very, very important state, and look at how he's navigated the coalitions and approval rating, all that kind of stuff, and then it's not just I don't want to say it's a lack of charisma, but it's what is the story that you're telling about why you're running and why you're different from everyone else, and is that story cohesive and compelling versus cherry picking issues where you can say, see, this is why I'm different than the National Democratic Party and a little more moderate, and the thing that you hate about the National Democratic Party is not the thing that you are going to hate about me.
When he won, right?
True.
Which can, again, really risk sounding like you read a polling memo.
Yeah, although it also depends what people in our line of work decide that we are interested in, right? Like a very large share of media professionals live in New York City, and they personally are very interested in left-wing reformist politics in New York City, where they live. And so things that happen in that vein get a lot of coverage. I don't think it's not wrong for people to be very passionate about politics in the city that they live in. I wish more people actually cared about the politics of the city where they live in, but it's distortionary in terms of our understanding of national politics and what's it all about, right? And something that, I try to do, that I think everybody has to try to do, is exercise some discipline and responsibility for ourselves, that the most important races coming up in November are in Ohio, they're in Iowa, they're in Texas, Alaska, North Carolina.
What?
Michigan.
Okay.
I have some personal connection to Texas through my wife's family. I have some personal connection to Maine, where I am physically present right now. I don't have any connection to Iowa and Ohio, but I care a lot about the future of the country. So it's incumbent on me.
Abdul Al-Sayed's financial
care.
disclosure reveals he and his wife own hundreds of thousands of dollars in overseas properties in India and the UAE.
Based?
About these states, right? Rob Sands.
Wait, hundreds of what'd you say?
Hundreds of thousands of dollars?
Oh, okay. Nice.
Clearly doing something in Iowa that is compelling to people who used to vote for Democrats and stopped voting for Democrats, and they like Rob Sand. And so I'm trying to get it. Because he's pretty charismatic. He's an interesting guy.
Yeah,
it conveys that there's something different about him, but it's not targeted at me. And that's why he's running in Iowa. That's what's good about it.
I will say, you're right that everyone needs to take responsibility for in the media and the professional class, for what they emphasize and what they talk about. I will speak as someone who runs a media company who we try to have everyone on.
Yeah.
And a lot of this is the attention that the person ends up commanding with audiences, right? We've talked to Mamdani a bunch of times. Very popular, right? Not just with our audience, but those clips travel beyond our audience, right? And we will have, Kate Connolly, who's in a much more important to the future of the country district to win when she's in town. And who knows, maybe it'll also be an incredibly viral clip. But our experience has been a lot of these candidates were in really important races that we ended up talking to.
No one cares about them.
It doesn't go anywhere because people are well, I don't really want to. I'm not as excited about that.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's not going to stop us from doing it. We'll keep doing it. But eventually you want, and especially you want this as a candidate on a campaign, you want your message to reach the low information voters.
Well, but you're advertising to an international audience, or to at least a national level audience, right? There's never going to be a world where you make a candidate popular nationally unless they are just a super media or a social media superstar. That's just very, very, very rare. And they probably shouldn't be. If I was a local politics guy and if I was super invested in some area that I lived in, if I was a big on we need to do something for Nebraska, I feel if anything, I would be annoyed if my politician, my representative, was constantly out talking national level politics. If I don't know how AOC's district feels, but they're super blue anyway, so maybe they don't care. But if AOC was my elected representative and I saw that she was out doing national level stuff all the time, I feel I would just be annoyed by that.
And unfortunately, the stuff that gets to the low information voters, to people who don't pay as close attention to all this, has to be stuff that goes viral, you know, and that's the trick.
And this is, I mean, a huge frustration that I have with a lot of the more moderate Democrats is that they don't even want to try a lot of the time, right? That their attitude is, look, nationalizing things is bad for me. I do better if there's kind of less of a giant media glare on me. What I want to do is be well enough known among super high attention people that I can raise money. And then I want to talk to my local television station about my local issues. And I get why people come to that conclusion. And I think it's the advice that they're getting from the DCCC, from the DSCC. And it works within the kind of four walls of what it's designed to achieve. But then all these same people also come around to me and they're like, oh my God, I'm so frustrated. People think the only Democrats in the country are AOC and Mamdani. And it's like, well, because they do the interviews.
Yeah, they do. But like, do we want, like, I don't even know if there's enough room on our TV for a billion different national level representatives or whatever. Like,
I mean, get ready. It's coming in 2027.
Everybody wants to be a fucking social media personality now.
Right? And like, they'll go on your show, they'll go on Fox, they'll, you know, and some of it is like, you can be more devil may care in a safe district.
Right.
And it's a little bit of a loaded playing field, but also, you know, life's not fair as we, they tell us not to tell our 11-year-old that. You're not supposed to wait.
Legit question, how about anti-Semitism from the left side? Oh, I don't know the answer to that, but we're way past that. It's way too late for that now.
What was the question?
Somebody in YouTube chat said, how do we prevent anti-Semitism from the left side? I have friends who are leftists or liberals, but they've gone from reasonably anti-Israel to believing to every Jewish conspiracy. Yeah, that fight is lost. Yeah, those dudes are mega on that shit now. Good luck.
These kids with that message anymore. But like, I think it's an important point fundamentally. It's like, it is harder to be in a swing district.
Yep.
It just is. You know, the playing field is loaded against you, but like, you've got to try, right? You've got to try to be interesting. You've got to try to say, look, you know, if you look at Vicente Gonzalez and Marie Luzican Perez and Don Davis and Kate Connolly and Tom Suozzi, that there actually is something that we all have in common. We're not all just like local people who are focused on our issues here, right? That like because they actually like they hang out together in DC. They have common staff, common consultants, common fundraisers. Like there's a group of moderate Democrats, but they need to give some voice to like, what do we think? Who are we? Why are we the good people? And I give incredible credit to Bernie Sanders, who has been tireless about trying to promote politicians who he likes. And I hear so many other Democrats, and they're mad that Bernie is promoting these people and that the people who they like aren't getting promoted. But it's like, well, who's going to promote them other than you?
Yeah, that's what actually bothers me a lot is that they look at the insurgent candidates on the left and sort of the progressive outsiders with like umbrage. It's basically that's like the main feeling, like, how dare you? And my candidate works really hard and has been just doing, you know, this is sort of
like if you're a large influencer, you could be the top dog in almost any like niche industry if you wanted to. I think the issue is that, like, imagine I decided to become a Warhammer 40K commentator. I don't know if there are huge Warhammer 40K channels, but I imagine very quickly, just by virtue of how big I am already, I could be one of the largest Warhammer 40K commentary channels. Imagine I came in and I started commenting, and I just disagreed with how everybody did it, and I start telling them, like, hey, this is why you guys suck, and this is what you have to do differently, and none of us should be talking about these people this way, and blah, blah, blah. I think people would look at me like, bro, who the fuck are you? And it's like, well, look, I'm one of the largest channels. Like, okay, but not doing Warhammer 40K shit. Like, why are you a huge part of this conversation? And I feel like that's what it feels like when a lot of these super far left Dems come in and like, this is how we need to change the party. And it's like, hold on, you never even held fucking elective office. Like, why are you here?
You didn't even vote for the fucking guy.
Yeah, you didn't even support Kamala. Like, why are you, like, why the fuck are you here telling us how to do everything? I don't know, it's annoying.
That was my biggest issue with your conversation with Josiah last night is, and I love Josiah, he's our boy, so is Hutch. But it felt like the fucking SpongeBob meme where he's constantly like walking and he'll like draw a line and then Squidward will walk over it and he'll draw another one and then Squidward will walk over it again. And it's just like, well, how many times is Kyle Kalinske going to walk over this line and now you're going to believe him that he's going to support the candidate and vote for them in 2028? It's just like, this guy had the easiest decision in the world between Trump and Kamala, and he chose to vote fucking Jill Stein a third time.
Yeah, not good. And actually, it wasn't. I don't think he didn't actually vote at all in 2024. But yeah, good memes.
He didn't? I thought he did vote.
No, the voter records. I don't know if they're public or they got leaked, but he didn't. Oh, okay, yeah. I don't believe he did. And then he endorsed Jill Stein, but he didn't actually. I don't think voted at all.
He didn't even take the time to go.
No, fuck it.
that people are making for her, but originally it was like, well, she's been there just working hard, and give her credit for being there and working hard. And it's like, okay, I'm sure that's true if you know her, but like voters don't know that, and so they're going to need a different kind of story there.
Well, and also I know so many Democrats who want her to win this primary, but who don't want to fly to Michigan and campaign with her because it'll be embarrassing if they stand with her and she loses. But it'll be embarrassing to Bernie if Abdul loses. And like, he has he's doing the work, right?
Yeah.
And there's no alternative to that in politics. And that's like part of my message to the more moderate Democrats out there is like, don't just give up hope, but also don't just assume that we can keep endlessly staving off the left and, pulling more rabbits out of the hat. Like, somebody's got to run a campaign. Somebody's got to make the case. You've got to actually like articulate some daring positions on the issues. And if people yell at you, you have to explain why they're wrong. And like, you got to go on Crooked, and you probably got to go on Hasan Piker and, do some interviews with people who don't agree with you and stand your ground. And that's because that's how it's always been. There's no like magic trick.
Look, I know people have said it's not the issue that lost her the election, but the ad that Kamala Harris dealt with about gender-affirming care for undocumented immigrant prisoners. And, the campaign was like, oh, we tested all the responses, and the responses didn't do anything, and so we decided like not to talk about it at all. And I don't think that may be true in terms of testing the ads, but I think the candidate has to be able to tell a story about why they supported that, why they've changed their mind, if they have changed their mind, that is acceptable to voters, right? Like, I don't think ducking these issues or just trying to hide from them is not an effective strategy on a presidential campaign level. Like I remember Jonathan Martin wrote a piece a while back, was like, Democrats aren't focusing at all on maybe some of the most important Senate.
Like, he's not necessarily wrong here, but then remember the issue is that somebody did take a more articulated, nuanced stance on the trans athlete thing. It was Gavin Newsom, and then it feels like he got kind of eaten up for his position on it, which wasn't even that extreme. He got eaten up.
What was his
by,
position?
I think he just said that the idea of trans athletes or whatever, especially at NCAA levels, is probably not a good one, and he got fucking eaten alive by that, or for that
by
one.
the lefties or just everybody?
By the lefties, who are also doing the media, unfortunately. So.
Races, they don't get national attention, like Roy Cooper, and it's like, well, Roy Cooper probably doesn't want a lot of attention on his race because he has enough money. He has raised quite a bit of money. He's ahead. And so what does Roy Cooper care if we're all talking about Roy Cooper's race? He probably doesn't, probably rather us not. But you can't do that in a presidential primary. And the challenge is you're going to get a bunch of moderates in the presidential primary that don't know how to sort of make that argument and get that level of attention. Though the one person I've been thinking about this whole time, and I thought about when I read your piece for the first time, is Rahm. Like, Rahm will be this person, right?
Yeah, I mean, Rahm is, I think, doing the right stuff. He is getting attention to himself. People know his name, etc. If I could puppet master everything, I would say, look, is a retread from the Obama White House, from the Clinton White House, who was ambassador to Japan, who, if he does gain some traction in the primary, we're going to be relitigating Laquan McDonald. That's not, I would love for Rahm to take a step back and to mentor somebody else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because clearly there is a demand for fresh faces and new voices. And everybody can see that, right? And, this is...
I feel crazy sometimes, and I understand I'm so far outside here, but I guess maybe, I don't know if the red pill arc either prepared me for this or brainwashed me on this. There are things that people say, and these things are just proxies for other things, but they're not really representative thing itself at all. So one of the really common ones was the whole women prefer a bad boy. I was no, people just like people who are very confident and have a lot of good pro-social skills, not somebody who literally murders and fucking rapes people and sets homes on fire. This idea of people want somebody younger. I don't think people want somebody young. They want somebody who feels high energy and who feels like they represent their beliefs better. And for some reason that's got conflated with want somebody young. But if you talk to anybody in this country, or at least the people online who are representing this people the most, oh, I want somebody younger. Oh, how do you feel about 972-year-old Bernie Sanders? I love him. He's one of my favorite politicians ever. Okay, well, clearly there's something else that's going on here than just the age. There's something else has to be happening here. Same thing with the billionaire thing. Oh, you hate all billionaires? How do you feel about Tom Steyer? Oh, it was only him or nobody else. Okay, so something else must be going on. Not to say that age isn't age isn't a factor at all. I'm sure if you could choose between an old Bernie Sanders or a young Bernie Sanders, I'd go for the young Bernie Sanders. But there's something a little bit more happening here than just I prefer a young person. I think it's proxying for other issues sometimes.
Part of why I'm excited about Josh Turek and James Tallarico is these are younger politicians. They are not part of the old kind of mess. I think they are kind of media savvy and know stuff. And they're not from the left wing of the party. They're just also not handed down by the establishment, right? And like this can be done. But to an extent, some of the people, the Rahm Emanuels of the world, need to make room for other people and promote them or help them rather than saying, look, the same cohort that was telling you in 2016, like, don't listen to Bernie. We know how to win. And then they didn't win. And now we're 10 years into that. And
well, but Bernie definitely didn't win. And I mean, Hillary did do well. I mean, she lost, but I mean, she had 3 million extra votes. Like, they weren't on the right spots. What?
She won the popular vote.
Oh, yeah. And it's not like the places that she lost it were places where she needed to just be radical left in.
And it's not a healthy dynamic.
Last question on this. So who do you like in 28 as a potential candidate who could carry this message?
Sure. You know, what I tell people is like, we know the universe of
I think that people like Josiah and Pisco, maybe not Pisco, I don't know where he's actually at, but people like Josiah, I think are in for a really rude awakening if we do get to a point to where Ossoff is the nominee, because that there's no world where lefties are supporting a Jew who I also don't think people don't realize how moderate Ossoff is. Like Ossoff is a Georgia. Yeah. This is a blue senator, right? I remember because I made fun of him for it back in the day. He did this with Ossoff and Warnock, where Hasan hated both of these motherfuckers because they were moderates. And I specifically remember making fun of it because I think when Warnock was looking for somebody to play Among Us with, Hasan was like trying to get in. I'm like, you were shitting on these guys just a little bit ago. You didn't help your audience didn't get mobilized to fucking door knock or do anything for these guys. You fucking hated these motherfuckers.
Elected officials.
Wait, people are saying it's already starting. Ossoff doesn't even support Medicare for all, yet some leftists are salivating for him to be the nominee in 2020. Oh my God, it's Hasan's girl. 2.1 thousand likes. That's not that much. Do you support the Green New Deal?
New Deal.
Oh, I think I quote tweeted this one, didn't I?
No. Do you support Medicare for all?
No.
Do you support DC
Ooh, 8.4 thousand likes on that one.
statehood?
Uh-oh.
Yes. Do you support Puerto Rican statehood?
Yes. Yes,
Do you
King.
support defunding the police?
No.
Do you support abolishing ICE?
No.
Do you support
That was a long time ago, though. I bet he supports abolishing ICE now. I think
should.
that's an easy
Those
easy
motherfuckers
position.
have killed like 6 people now.
Yeah, that shit is crazy.
The Democratic Party
in the critical swing states, right? It's Kelly and Gallego in Arizona. It's Whitmer in Michigan. It's Shapiro in Pennsylvania. There's some like Tony Evers is too old.
They should unironically
Katie
start
Hobbs
every
seems like-
single fucking debate with yes or no's like that.
True.
Genuinely. Just so people
Yes or
know
no?
where we're at.
Yes or no? True.
I kind of like her, but it seems like she totally refuses to do press of any kind.
Yeah.
Like someone who's not going to run. John Fetterman is like not going to be a leading contender, I think we could say. But like we know this universe. Of candidates.
Fetterman will be primary.
And the question is, which of them is going to try
big
to
time.
go beyond? Like you were saying, right? They're going to stand up and they're going to be like, I know how to win in the swing states. You should vote for me. This is the most practical thing to do. I kind of agree with that. It's also just not that compelling, right? And so who's going to say, I know how to win in the swing states. And the way I did it is that I said, and then you got to say the thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you have to actually go say something. And something that I have noticed is that a lot of these people, depending on what audience they're talking to, they sometimes want to undersell the amount of ideological heterodoxy that they've displayed in their campaigns. Because the easiest way to
what
raise
does that
money,
mean?
if you're
What? Heterodox.
Ideological
Heterodox is just like you're having multiple views, basically, and then orthodox is like only one view. I actually don't think that really orthodox or heterodox. I don't like the way that I feel like it's just a really fancy way of just saying like multiple views. But generally speaking, I believe orthodox and heterodox is applied to like philosophers or economists or like researchers. Is like, do you have an orthodox view on some subject, meaning that you basically are fully falling in line with a certain viewpoint on a particular issue. And then a heterodox person, I guess, like considers multiple views or it isn't necessarily part of like a singular school of thought on a topic. But right now it's sounding like, do you like McDonald's or Pizza Hut? And it's like, I like both. It's like, oh, he has a very heterodox view on fast food choices. It's just, I feel like it's a really goofy word.
So if you
that's applied
believe
here,
in
but-
like a spherical Earth, then you have an orthodox view on the Earth.
I guess, yeah. Well, yeah, they might even say that, like you're part of like big or Earth globe
Big
orthodoxy or something or whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
running for re-election in Kentucky is to kind of tell like liberal donors in coastal cities, like, I'm a magician. You know, I just like won in Kentucky because I've got a cool accent. But like Andy Bashir rejected a Sierra Club endorsement. And he got the United Mine Workers, who have stopped endorsing Democrats in national politics, to endorse him. And that's because, like, he has a position on the use of coal that, like, I don't really agree with, but that people in Kentucky do agree with. And that's the truth about how Andy Beshear wins votes in Kentucky that other people don't have. I don't think you could sell that to a national Democratic primary electorate, because it's like Kentucky is too right-wing, right? It's too far. But there's stuff you can say in the Midwest or in Arizona or in Georgia. But, like, you got to give people the real talk about, like, what did you say, Raphael Warnock? What did you say, John Ossoff, to the local audiences in Georgia, and say it to a national audience? And a lot
or
of
not multiple points of view. Heterodox might mean a view outside of the norm, I think, maybe. As opposed to, like, the standard view, I guess, yeah.
Do you think the average fucking American would be upset with a president who is pro-coal? I guess the average Democrat.
Well, I guess it depends on what you mean by pro-coal.
I don't know Andy Beshear's, I guess, staked out position on it.
I would have to know his position exactly.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
The reasonable position that I'm pretty sure almost everybody who does anything with energy has. Somehow the conservatives were able to fearmonger people into believing that that, like, Democrats want to turn off all the energy to start the windmills right now. And so we're going to be suffering a ton because the cost of energy is going to be so high, as opposed to, like, phasing them out. Like, any reasonable human being should want to phase out fossil fuels, not immediately shut them all off and then turn on the green energy. That's retarded.
Yeah, you guys don't have the infrastructure for that.
Sure.
You'll find with these people, it's border security, it's some kind of political reform, and it is some effort to indicate that you're not, like, woke. Like, whatever it is exactly that means to people. But I think something like, you are not going to be so obsessed with identity politics that you can't just, like, help everybody on their own terms, right? And that's the message Obama used. It's the message Bill Clinton used. I think we kind of, like, know what the, like, unifying, this is a diverse country, but we're all in it together. I mean, you're, a brilliant speechwriter. Like, you know how to do these things. But only certain people can sell it because politics is hard.
Well, hope we find one soon. Matt Iglesias, thank you so much for joining Pod Save America. This was a great conversation.
Thank you.
Thanks to Matt Iglesias for coming on. Tommy Lovett and I will be back in your feed on Tuesday. Pod Save America is a Crooked Media production.
Damn.